Tonight, we're breaking down every forbidden spell in the Harry Potter universe. This is a fascinating topic, but I'll keep my narration calm to ensure you can still drift off to sleep. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. Imagine a world where the wave of a wand can mend a broken bone, brew a potion of luck, or transport you across continents in the blink of an eye. In the wizarding world, magic is the ultimate tool of creation, a fundamental force of nature that responds to the intent of the caster. But for every spell that brings light, there is a shadow cast in equal measure. There are incantations so devastating, so morally corrosive, and so inherently violent that the magical community has spent centuries trying to bury them. These are the spells that don't just break the law, they break the soul. We are talking about magic that was never meant to be discovered, let alone used. At the heart of this darkness lie the 3 unforgivable curses, names that carry a weight of terror from the first year at Hogwarts to the highest offices of the Ministry of Magic. To cast one of these spells on a human being is to forfeit your own humanity, earning an automatic life sentence in the cold, soul-draining cells of Azkaban. But why are these 3 specifically singled out? What is it about the green flash of the killing curse, the agonizing white heat of the Cruciatus curse, or the hollow, puppet-like submission of the Imperious curse that makes them worse than a spell that might accidentally cause a fatal explosion? The answer lies in the nature of intent. These are not spells you can cast by accident. They require a deep, burning desire to dominate, to torture, or to extinguish life entirely. They are the ultimate expressions of the dark arts popularized by the most feared wizards in history. Yet their origins stretch back to the Middle Ages, long before the rise of Lord Voldemort. However, the rabbit hole goes much deeper than just 3 curses. Beyond the unforgivables, there exists a vast catalogue of magic that is forbidden not by specific decree, but by the sheer danger it poses to the caster and the world around them. Think of the uncontrollable, sentient flames of fiend fire, a cursed fire that takes the shape of monstrous beasts and devours everything in its path, including the very person who summoned it. Think of the invisible blades of Sectum Sempra, a spell designed specifically for enemies, which leaves wounds that cannot be healed by traditional means. There are rituals of necromancy so foul they require the desecration of graves and the sacrifice of flesh. And there is the Horcrux, the most taboo magic of all, which requires the literal shattering of one's own soul through the act of murder. Tonight, we are going to explore the history, the mechanics, and the terrifying consequences of these forbidden arts. We will look at the moments when these spells changed the course of history, from the tragic madness of the Longbottoms to the desperate choices made by Harry Potter himself in the heat of war. We will examine why some magic is deemed too dangerous to even speak of, and how the pursuit of such power inevitably leads to a descent into darkness. As we journey through the archives of the Ministry and the restricted section of the library, we will uncover the secrets of the magic that was meant to stay hidden. We will look at the ancient laws established in 1717 and how they have struggled to contain the reach of those who believe that there is no good and evil, only power. The stakes are nothing less than the preservation of the soul. In the wizarding world, your magic is a reflection of who you are. To use a forbidden spell is to change yourself irrevocably. We must ask ourselves, what happens to a society when the most dangerous weapons are just a few syllables and a flick of the wrist away? How does the magical world protect itself from the internal rot of the dark arts? From the protective but lethal rings of Protego Diabolica to the soul-binding finality of the unbreakable vow, we are diving into a world where the cost of a spell is often higher than any wizard is truly prepared to pay. As the lights dim and the world around you fades into the background, prepare to enter the shadows of the wizarding world. We will navigate the ethics of magic, the history of the most notorious dark wizards, and the specific, chilling details of the spells that define the boundary between a wizard and a monster. This is a journey through the most dangerous corners of the Harry Potter lore, a study of the magic too dangerous to use, and a reflection on the thin line between survival and corruption. Let the flickering torchlight of history guide us as we begin our descent into the darkness of the forbidden. Every wand carries a shadow, a subtle heaviness that only reveals itself when you cross into the territory of true darkness. What separates the flick of a lumos from the curse that unravels a soul? It's not the incantation alone, but the intent pulsing through your veins, the malice that twists the magic into something profane. Consider the everyday spells you know so well. Wingardium Leviosa lifts a feather with a gentle upward sweep, a charm born of curiosity and control. Accio summons your forgotten quill across the room, efficient and harmless. These are the tools of a wizard's life, woven into the fabric of the world without scarring it. They demand focus, yes, but their power flows from discipline, from a mind aligned with creation rather than destruction. Standard magic builds, protects, illuminates. It hums with the rhythm of nature, bending reality just enough to serve without breaking it. But then there's the other side. The philosophical boundary between standard magic and the corruption of the dark arts lies not in the words shouted or the wand's arc, but in the erosion of your very humanity. Dark spells don't just act on the world, they act on you. They feed on hatred, on a deliberate choice to dominate, to inflict suffering for its own sake. Once you taste that power, it lingers like smoke in your lungs, whispering that control is sweeter than compassion. Wizards who dip into these arts don't emerge unchanged. Their eyes harden, their laughter turns cruel, and the light in their magic dims to something predatory. Take the unforgivable curses as the starkest example. Avada Kedavra doesn't wound or stun. It snuffs out life in a flash of green light, leaving no mark on the body, just a sudden, unnatural stillness. The victim's heart stops, lungs seize, as if the threads of existence were severed by an invisible blade. No duel, no chance for mercy, just oblivion. Crucio racks the body with agony that consumes every nerve, every thought, turning a strong mind into a gibbering wreck if prolonged. You can hear the screams echoing in the stories, the way victims like the Longbottoms shattered under Bellatrix's glee, their sanity lost forever in waves of unrelenting pain. And Imperio? It slips into the mind like a thief, puppeteering the body against its will. Jump from a window, the caster commands, and the victim obeys, drowning in a reservoir without a flicker of resistance. These aren't spells for the faint-hearted. They demand more than precision. They crave a darkness within. The psychological toll of intent explains why these spells require more than just a vocal incantation. You can't whisper them politely or cast them in jest. The magic senses your core. For Avada Kedavra to strike true, you must will death with unbridled fury, a hatred so pure it ignites the air. Harry learned this the hard way, his early attempts at Crucio fizzling against Bellatrix because his rage lacked that bottomless cruelty. Imperio too falters without total domination in your soul. You have to mean the enslavement, feel the thrill of bending another to your whim. It's this inner venom that powers them, and in unleashing it, you invite corruption back into yourself. The wand becomes heavier, not from wood or core, but from the stain it absorbs. This boundary wasn't always so rigidly enforced. Wizards once experimented freely, blurring lines in hidden grimoires and forgotten rituals. Sectum Sempra, for instance, that vicious slashing curse from Snape's youth, labelled simply "for enemies" in a scribbled textbook margin. Invisible blades carve deep gashes, blood pouring in sheets, shock setting in before the pain fully registers. Harry unleashed it on Draco in a bathroom frenzy, watching in horror as his rival crumpled, flesh parting like parchment under a knife. Or Fiendfire, that monstrous blaze summoned in desperation, devouring Horcruxes and rooms alike, uncontrollable even by masters, risking the caster in its hunger. These spells tempt with raw power, but they pull you deeper into the abyss, kick you where morality frays. The turning point came with a decree that reshaped the wizarding world. The 1717 Ministry Decree changed wizarding law forever, declaring the unforgivable curses utterly banned, with a life sentence in Azkaban for any who used them on a fellow human. No trial could soften it. The evidence was irrefutable, etched into the wand's memory via priori incantatem, that eerie reverse echo where spells regurgitate their sins in ghostly wisps. Green flashes, writhing figures, obedient puppets, all laid bare. This wasn't mere regulation. It was a desperate line in the sand, born from centuries of unchecked horror, when dark wizards wielded death like a signature. Yet enforcement revealed the decree's limits. Magical forensics could trace the curses, detecting the unnatural cessation of life, or the mental fractures left behind. But intent remained the ghost in the machine. A wizard could claim accident or duress, though few judges bought it when the air still reeked of malice. Voldemort embodied this defiance, his rebirth ritual in the Little Hangleton graveyard, a grotesque symphony of bone, flesh and enemy blood, stirring his spectral form into flesh via ancient necromancy. Horcruxes pushed further, splintering the soul through cold-blooded murder, fragments hidden in diaries and diadems, granting twisted immortality at the cost of eternal fragmentation. Even vows like the Unbreakable Vow enforced this weight, a ritual where death claims the breaker, no exceptions, as Snape learned, binding himself to Narcissa's desperate plea. Protego Diabolica circled enemies in infernal flames, burning only the unfaithful, warping loyalty into lethal judgment. Each of these dances on the edge, demanding you embrace the corruption they promise. You feel it, don't you? That subtle shift as the wand grows leaden in your grip. The more you lean into darkness, the more it claims you, until standard magic feels bland by comparison. But how did the Ministry reach that fateful decree in 1717, the year magic truly broke? That's the story in Chapter 2, 1717, the year magic broke, where hidden atrocities forced their hand and shattered the old ways forever. That pivotal Ministry Decree of 1717 didn't emerge from thin air. It was forged in the fires of a wizarding world teetering on the edge of chaos, where the line between survival and savagery had blurred into oblivion. Wizards and witches, long hidden from Muggle eyes, faced a storm unlike any before, a perfect tempest of persecution, internal strife, and unchecked magical excess that demanded the creation of categories sharp enough to carve out the darkest offences. Picture the early 18th century, not as dusty history books paint it, but through the eyes of those who lived it. Fog-shrouded streets of London, alive with whispers of witch hunts that had spilled over from the previous century's hysteria. Muggles, gripped by fear after decades of plague, war, and superstition, turned their torches on anyone suspected of sorcery. The Statute of Secrecy, enacted just decades earlier in 1692, was fraying at the seams. Wizards caught in the open weren't just burned, their screams echoed through wizarding taverns as tales of captured kin surfaced nightly. Families vanished into Muggle flames, their magic silenced forever, while those who escaped brought back scars that festered into rage. But the true rot came from within, wizarding society, strained by the fallout of the Goblin rebellions, those brutal uprisings in the late 17th century, where goblins demanded rights and wizards responded with iron-fisted suppression, had descended into paranoia. Pure blood families hoarded power, half-bloods clawed for legitimacy, and Muggleborns were eyed with suspicion as potential leaks. Dark wizards exploited the turmoil, forming cabals that roamed the countryside, enforcing loyalty through spells that bent minds and broke bodies. Reports flooded the ministry, villages depopulated not by plague, but by invisible curses that left no trace. Auras overwhelmed, he patrolled borders where wizarding feuds spilled into open duels, wands flashing green and red under moonless skies. It was this social climate, this cauldron of external terror and internal betrayal, that birthed the need for an unforgivable category. Before 1717, ministry classifications were loose, a patchwork of dangerous and restricted spells regulated by fines or probation. But as bodies piled up from curses that stripped away free will, inflicted agony beyond endurance, or snuffed life without mercy, Wizengamot elders realized softer laws invited anarchy. They convened in secret sessions deep within the ministry's bowels, parchments yellowed by candlelight, debating not just power, but the soul's erosion. A spell that tortured for sport? Unforgivable. One that puppeteered a victim's every thought? Unforgivable. Instant death clean and final? Unforgivable. These weren't mere tools of war, they were weapons that dehumanized the caster as much as the target, turning wizards into monsters, indistinguishable from the beasts they feared. Delving deeper into the historical context of the Ministry of Magic's classification system reveals a bureaucracy born of necessity, evolving from medieval edicts into a rigid framework by the 18th century. Early records tucked away in the Department of Magical Law Enforcement trace back to the International Confederation of Wizards' formation in the late 14th century, but it was the post-statute era that sharpened the blade. Spells were tiered, everyday hexes like jelly legs, jinxes drew warnings, battle curses like reducto faced scrutiny, but the unforgivables demanded a new pinnacle of prohibition. Automatic life in Azkaban, no trial shortcuts, no appeals. The decree, ratified on a stormy October night in 1717, wasn't whimsical. It responded to a surge in atrocities, over 200 documented cases in the prior decade alone, where Imperius forced Muggleborns to sabotage their own kind, Crucio extracted confessions from rivals, and Avada Kedavra silenced dissenters mid-plea. Enforcement began immediately. Aura squads, bolstered by international aid, swept through hidden enclaves, priori incantato wands, glowing as they traced curse echoes back to perpetrators. The first conviction set precedents: a pure blood lord who imperioused his house elves into rebellion, a witch who crucioed her rivals in a custody feud. Azkaban's chill cells filled, Dementors gliding silently as the message sank in: cross this line, and your magic ends in darkness. Yet the system wasn't flawless. Classification hinged on intent and effect. Spells that killed slowly or spared the mind skirted the edge, prompting endless debates in ministry halls. This brings us to a quieter scandal buried in those dusty ledgers: why certain spells were left off the unforgivable list despite their lethal potential. Take Sectum Sempra, that vicious slashing curse invented by a young Severus Snape, which rends flesh with invisible blades, leaving victims to drown in their own blood amid gushing wounds and shuddering shock. It kills as surely as any green flash, yet no life sentence awaits its caster. Why? Because it lacks the unforgivable's unique corrosion, the instant theft of will, or the spectacle of prolonged suffering. Sectum Sempra wounds the body brutally, but it demands hatred fueled by personal vendetta, not the cold detachment of true dark mastery. Healers can intervene, as Snape himself proved on Draco Malfoy's ravaged form, staunching the flow before death claimed him. It's barbaric, forbidden in duels, but prosecutable as assault, not existential evil. Fiendfire offers another riddle: those roaring sentient flames that devour Horcruxes and stone alike, twisting into dragons and serpents that laugh at Aquamenti charms. Even Voldemort shunned it, knowing one misstep engulfs the caster, in their own inferno. Lethal, utterly, levelling castles in minutes, but omitted because it's a force of nature, not a directed curse. Control slips from even masters, making it self-policing through sheer risk. The Ministry regulates it via licensing for rare demolition rights, not blanket bans. Protego Diabolica, the diabolical shield of black fire that incinerates the unsworn, while shielding devotees, warps loyalty into lethal judgment. It burned through armies in forgotten skirmishes, yet escapes unforgivable status, too ritualistic, too tied to defensive wars, corrupting slowly rather than snapping the soul outright. Voldemort's rebirth ritual, that grotesque brew of bone, flesh and enemy's blood, resurrects from spirit to flesh amid graveyard's gloom. But it's alchemy masked as magic, prosecutable as necromancy, not a wand flick's instant doom. Even Horcrux creation, splitting the soul via cold-blooded murder to shard immortality into trinkets, defies the list. It promises eternity, but unravels the self into fragments, diary, locket, cup, each a ticking curse, too arcane, too voluntary a descent. The Ministry lacks spells to detect it until destruction reveals the horror. Unbreakable vows seal fates with death's penalty for breach, as Snape learned vowing Dumbledore's end. But they're consensual oaths, not imposed tyranny. These omissions expose the classification's heart, not raw deadliness, but the unforgivable's assault on humanity's core, agency, dignity, life itself. Spells like these tempt from shadowed libraries, but they linger in grey zones, prosecutable, yet not eternally damned. 1717 drew the line, but shadows persist, whispering of power's true cost. As we step from this fractured year into the cold precision of the spell that ends all others, prepare for Chapter 3, the killing curse, green light, cold death. What makes that emerald flash not just lethal, but the ultimate taboo, a curse so final it leaves no echo, no counter, no mercy? Stay with me. Out of the shadows cast by that fateful Ministry decree in 1717, one spell emerged as the starkest embodiment of why such laws were etched into wizarding stone. Avada Kedavra, the killing curse, a flash of unearthly green light that silences life without a whisper of struggle. Picture the air thickening as the incantation rolls off the tongue, that ancient Aramaic phrase, twisted into a weapon of finality. The curse doesn't rend flesh or shatter bone. It simply stops everything. The victim crumples, eyes wide in an instant of frozen surprise, body collapsing like a puppet with severed strings. No blood spills, no wounds gape, just death cold and absolute. This is the mechanics of Avada Kedavra laid bare, a bolt of pure malevolent magic that targets the very spark of existence. Wizards have pored over it in forbidden tomes, dissecting its weave. The spell channels an overwhelming surge of dark energy, overloading the victim's magical core, the subtle lattice that binds body and soul in every witch and wizard. It's not fire or force, it's cessation. The heart halts mid-beat, lungs forget to draw breath, neurons fire their last silent spark. And crucially, no counterspell exists. Protego rebounds lesser hexes, but Avada Kedavra slips through like smoke through fingers. Why? Because it bypasses the physical entirely. Finite incantatem might unravel charms, but this curse is a one-way invocation, a door slammed shut on reversal. Even the greatest healers, like those who tended the fallen in the Battle of Hogwarts, could only confirm what everyone knew. Once the green light touches you, there's no coming back. This leads us to the biological mystery that has haunted even the most learned minds at St. Mungo's. Why does the body remain perfectly intact while the soul is expelled? Autopsies on victims, rare, grim affairs conducted under heavy aura guard, reveal no trauma, skin unmarred, organs pristine, as if the wizard simply chose to lie down and never rise. No toxins course the veins, no hemorrhages stain the tissues. It's as though every cell receives a simultaneous command to cease, synchronized to perfection. Healers whisper of the soul's violent eviction, that ethereal essence ripped free in a burst of green luminescence, it leaving the husk behind like an empty robes. Muggle forensics would call it cardiac arrest without cause, but in our world, it's the curse's signature elegance, death without destruction, a clean severance. Voldemort wielded it masterfully, felling foes from afar. Think of the fox in the Ministry Gardens in 1995, reduced to stillness in a puff of fur and silence, or Snape's reluctant strike on the Astronomy Tower in 1998. Dumbledore's body, tumbling untouched, pristine, even in freefall. The soul departs, they say, shrieking into the void, while the vessel endures as mocking evidence. Yet the Ministry doesn't rely on sight alone to condemn the caster. Forensic magic steps in, a web of detection spells that unmask the curse's lingering echo. Auras arrive swiftly, wands drawn, murmuring prior incantato over the scene. The victim's own wand, if nearby, or the air itself regurgitates the shadow of the spell. A ghostly green wisp, replaying the curse in reverse, confirming Avada Kedavra's unmistakable signature. It's a residue, you see, a faint magical isotope that clings to the air, the ground, even the deceased's final breath frozen in place. Specialized enforcers use Revelio Mortis, a charm that illuminates the invisible trail, tracing it back to the one that fired it. In the chaos of battle, like the Astronomy Tower skirmish, where Thorfinn Roll unwittingly slew Gibbon with a stray bolt, this forensic precision pinned the crime. No body need bear scars. The magic betrays itself, a spectral fingerprint glowing under scrutiny. The Ministry's Department of Magical Law Enforcement prides itself on this. Cases closed before the ink dries on the arrest warrant. Delve deeper, and you sense the curse's allure for those who crave power. Created in the Middle Ages amid wizarding wars, it promised dominance without mess, a tyrant's dream. Voldemort elevated it to art, his high-pitched incantation slicing through the night like a scythe. But wielders pay a price beyond Azkaban's chill. Each cast etches darkness into the soul. A corrosion no potion reverses. Harry felt its brush in the graveyard of Little Hangleton, Priori Incantatum, pulling echoes from Voldemort's wand. Green light birthing the shades of his parents, Cedric, Bertha Jorkins. That reverse spell offered a glimpse of vulnerability, yet even then, no true block for Avada Kedavra itself. The green light haunts dreams for a reason. It doesn't rage like Fiendfire's Inferno or twist like Crucio's Agony. It's serene, inevitable, a cold exhalation of mortality. Victims in the lore, from ancient duels to the Hogwarts battles of 1998, drop without a sound. Bodies laid out as if in peaceful repose. Healers prod the cadavers, puzzled by the untouched perfection. The heart stilled mid-contraction. Blood pooled evenly. No rigor mortis hastening unnaturally. Theories abound in dusty restricted section volumes. Perhaps the curse mimics the soul's natural departure at death's door, but accelerated, forcing the essence out while commanding the body to mimic sleep eternal. Or it's a perversion of ancient healing arts, inverted to unmake life at its root. Ministry forensics evolved specifically for this elusiveness. Post-1717, they refined Signatura Letum, a detector charm that scans for the curse's harmonic frequency, a low, resonant hum undetectable to the ear, but vivid to enchanted crystals. In Sanbakar's era, the 1890s at Hogwarts, such tools were cruder, relying on eyewitness echo charms that captured the light's after-image. Today it's foolproof. A crime scene glows with incriminating verdancy, wand cores analysed for matching vibrations. Even non-verbal casts, like Bellatrix's casual flick on that fox, leave traces too stubborn to vanish. As we linger on this green harbinger of ends, the question tugs. Who first crossed into that unforgivable territory with Avada Kedavra? Up next, Chapter 4, The First Victim. Sanbakar's Choice, reveals a tale from the Hogwarts keepers that will chill you to the core. While the killing curse leaves the body eerily pristine, as if life simply evaporated, its true horror unfolded not in silence, but in the anguished cries echoing through Hogwarts' hidden chambers during the 1890s. San Bakar, a stern and unyielding professor of defense against the dark arts, faced a choice that would etch the first known victim of Avada Kedavra into wizarding legend. Isidora Morgaraku, once his trusted ally among the keepers of Hogwarts. The keepers were no ordinary professors. They formed a secretive circle sworn to safeguard the school's deepest mysteries. Ancient magics buried beneath the castle's stones, powers that predated even the founders. In the turbulent 1890s, whispers of goblin unrest rippled through the wizarding world, stirring fears of rebellion, much like the upheavals that would later grip Europe. But within Hogwarts, a far more intimate conflict brewed, one that pitted the pursuit of power against the fragile bonds of trust and morality. Isidora, a brilliant witch with a healer's touch, had uncovered traces of an ancient magic during her trials as a keeper. It began innocently enough, a shimmering reservoir of raw power hidden in the depths of the Highlands, capable of siphoning pain from tormented souls. She first wielded it to ease the suffering of a grieving student, drawing grief like smoke from a dying fire, leaving the boy whole again. Word spread quietly among the staff. Villagers plagued by ancient curses sought her out, their agonies lifted in waves of golden light. For a time, it seemed a gift from the gods of old magic, a force that could mend what standard spells could not. But power, especially the ancient kind, hungers. Isidora's experiments deepened. She delved into forbidden repositories, siphoning not just pain, but joy, ambition, even love, emotions twisted into fuel for her growing reservoir. Her eyes, once warm, hardened with an unnatural gleam. She began to preach a dangerous gospel. That true strength lay in stripping away human weakness, hoarding it for the worthy. The other keepers watched in growing dread as she amassed this stolen essence, her magic warping the air around her like heat from a forge. San Bakar confronted her first, alone in the shadowed repository beneath the castle. The air there hummed with wards older than Merlin, stone walls etched with runes that flickered like dying embers. Isidora stood defiant, a reservoir pulsing with pilfered souls, a vortex of swirling energies that made the torches gutter. She argued her vision with fervent passion. Imagine a world free of suffering, she pleaded, where wizards could wield unbridled might against threats like the goblins massing beyond the gates. Why cling to feeble muggle-like frailties when such power beckoned? San Bakar, his wand steady but his heart heavy, saw the corruption taking root, the ancient magic twisting her into something unrecognizable. The conflict escalated through clandestine meetings, where the keepers gathered under flickering candlelight. Accusations flew like sparks. Isidora accused them of cowardice, hoarding secrets while the world burned. She demonstrated her power, siphoning a keeper's fear in an instant, leaving him hollow-eyed and compliant. The group fractured. Some wavered, tempted by her promises of invincibility amid the era's brewing storms. But San Bakar held firm, rallying the loyal ones. The castle's defences demanded balance, not domination. The final clash came in the Great Hall's undercroft, amid towering shelves of sealed tomes and glowing artefacts. Isidora unleashed her reservoir, tendrils of ancient magic lashing out, shattering stone and bending light into weapons. Keepers fell, their emotions drained, collapsing like puppets with cut strings. San Bakar dueled her wand to wand, his spells glancing off her shield of stolen power. She laughed, a sound like cracking ice, proclaiming herself the future. In that desperate moment, with Hogwarts' very foundations trembling, he whispered the words no keeper had dared since the Middle Ages. Avada Kedavra, a flash of green light split the gloom, striking Isidora square in the chest. She crumpled without a mark, her body serene as a sleeping statue, the reservoir shattering in a cascade of freed energies that lit the chamber like a dying sun. The silence that followed was profound, broken only by the distant rumble of the castle settling. Sanbakar knelt beside her, his face ashen, knowing he had ended a life but unleashed a shadow on his soul. This act plunged the keepers into soul-searching torment. Had Sanbakar murdered a visionary, or saved them all from a tyrant in the making? The moral ambiguity gnawed at them. Using a forbidden curse for the greater good, to protect Hogwarts from a power that could have unravelled the wizarding order. Isidora's pursuit, born of compassion, had veered into darkness, mirroring how even noble intents curdle under unchecked ambition. Yet Sanbakar's hand, steady in defence, bore the stain of unforgivable magic centuries before its official ban. In the aftermath, the keepers made a pact forged in grief. They sealed away all traces of ancient magic, vowing eternal secrecy, not just to hide the power, but to bury the memory of their fracture. No ministry records spoke of Isidora's death. It became a ghost story whispered among professors. This era set the precedent for modern magical secrecy, teaching that some knowledge devour its keepers, that the line between guardian and grave robber blurs too easily. Hogwarts trials, once open paths to glory, were locked behind illusions and oaths, ensuring future generations learned only sanitized lessons. The weight of that choice lingered, a cautionary echo through the ages, reminding wizards that even in defense, the green light claims more than flesh. And as we turn from death's cold precision to the curse that racks the body in endless torment, prepare for Crucio, the anatomy of agony, where pain becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. Sanbakar's strike with Avada Kedavra offered a swift severance from the world, a debatable mercy wrapped in moral shadows. But what if death felt too merciful, too final? What if the true horror lay not in ending a life, but in unravelling it from within, nerve by screaming nerve? The Cruciatus Curse, known to wizards simply as Crucio, doesn't rend flesh or shatter bone. It slips past the body's outermost defences like a whisper through a keyhole, igniting the nervous system in a symphony of unrelenting torment. Picture the human body as a vast, intricate web of pathways, billions of neurons firing signals from brain to fingertip, a silent orchestra keeping every muscle, every sensation in harmony. Crucio conducts chaos there instead. It overloads those pathways with false signals of agony, as if every fibre were dipped in liquid fire, every joint twisted by invisible vice grips. Victims convulse, their bodies arching in futile rebellion, screams tearing from throats until the voice gives out. There's no wound to staunch, no bone to set. The damage blooms inward, a storm ravaging the central nervous system, where pain receptors scream overload to the spinal cord and brain. This is the terrifying efficiency of the Cruciatus Curse on the human nervous system. It doesn't need to breach the skin or muscle, because it never touches them. The spell manifests as a bolt of crimson light, thinner and more insidious than Avada Kedavra's vivid green flash. That light carries no physical mass, no heat to scorch or force to bruise. It phases directly into the target's neural architecture, hijacking sodium channels and amplifying nociceptors, the very sensors evolution wired to detect harm. In seconds, the brain drowns in endorphin floods gone wrong, cortisol spikes that shred sanity, prolonged exposure. It rewires the mind. Synapses burn out, pain thresholds vanish, leaving a shell that registers even a breeze as flaying knives. Healers speak of it in hushed tones. Repeated Cruciatus leaves echoes, phantom agonies that haunt the body long after the spell lifts, driving victims to madness, as Neville Longbottom's parents could attest, though their full story waits just ahead. Why bother with swords or poisons when a word can achieve this? Wizards learned early that physical shields prove utterly useless against a spell designed to bypass the skin. Protego, the stalwart guardian charm, erects a shimmering barrier of compressed air and raw magic, deflecting hexes, jinxes, even stunners with a resonant thrum. It halts bludgers mid-flight, shatters incoming curses into harmless sparks. But Crucio laughs at such defences. The curse isn't hurled as a projectile seeking collision. It's a spectral intrusion, a magical waveform that permeates matter like ether through fog. Shields block the tangible, the kinetic, the elemental. But Crucio vibrates at a frequency tuned to life itself, slipping through dermal layers and straight to the ganglia clusters beneath. In duels, you'd see the red streak pierce a raised one's aegis without flicker, the victim crumpling before their protego even fully forms. It's why Auror training drills obsess over evasion. Dodge, don't block, because standing firm invites the unraveling. This elegance of design traces back to the curse's medieval origins, when dark wizards experimented with pain as a tool sharper than any blade. Manuscripts from those shadowed libraries describe early variants. Crude neural jolts meant for interrogation, but Crucio perfected the art. It demands precision from the caster, a wand flick precise as a surgeon's scalpel, a sharp jab forward, the incantation barked with venom, yet precision alone fails. The spell feeds on intent, raw and unfiltered. You can't feign it. The magic senses the heart's truth. Here's the cruel paradox. True malice isn't enough, nor is blind rage. Crucio requires a burning righteous indignation versus true malice to make the spell work. A conviction that the pain is deserved, justified, almost holy in its delivery. Cold sadism fizzles, the wand spits feeble spark, but cloak that cruelty and purpose. In the fire of believing your cause elevates the torment, and the curse blooms full. Voldemort's Death Eaters mastered this, their fanaticism turning ideology into agony. Bellatrix Lestrange, with her wild cackle, embodied it. Her Cruciatus on Sirius Black in the Ministry Atrium wasn't mere hate, it was retribution for betrayal, her twisted loyalty to the Dark Lord fueling the red lightning that left him writhing on the stone floor, ribs heaving against invisible flames. Harry Potter learned this the hard way. In the Department of Mysteries, fury boiled in him as he faced Bellatrix, a taunt about Sirius's death still echoing. Crucio, he snarled, wand slashing. The jet lanced out, red and eager, but it barely grazed her, a tickle against her robes. She mocked him. You have to really mean it, really want to cause pain. His anger was hot, righteous in its grief, but not yet the sustained malice the curse craved. Later in the Shrieking Shack, against Snape's same failure, indignation at Dumbledore's murder, but diluted by confusion, by doubt. It took the Battle of Hogwarts, Amicus Carrow's sneering spit on McGonagall's face, to ignite it fully. Harry's Crucio then hit true. Carrow folded like parchment in fire, howling as his nerves betrayed him completely. That shift, from failed sparks to perfect execution, reveals the curse's psychological razor. It mirrors the caster's soul, demanding you embrace the darkness without apology. No wonder the Ministry branded it unforgivable in 1717, alongside its siblings. Unlike Avada Kedavra's clean finality, Crucio lingers, a violation that reshapes the victim long-term. Healers at St. Mungo's document cases where survivors twitch involuntarily. Years later, their nervous systems scarred like overtaxed wires. The spell's efficiency spares no demographic. Young or old, witch or wizard, it finds the nerves unerringly. Even magical creatures falter under it. House elves crumple, centaurs rear in panic, and, for the caster, a thrill addictive, eroding empathy with each use. Voldemort wielded it casually, on traitors, on muggles for sport, his indignation at the world fueling endless barrages. Yet countermeasures exist, fragile as they are. The Patronus charm, born of joy, can repel its tendrils. Not by blocking, but by flooding the neural storm with light. Dumbledore hinted at this in Lessons. Pure happiness disrupts the pain matrix, neurons firing counter-signals of euphoria, but summoning a Patronus mid-Cruciatus, near impossible, the mind too fractured. Dolohov's variant, wordless and spiked with opalescence, evaded even that, leaving Hermione gasping in the battle. Still, the curse's core weakness remains its reliance on the caster's fractured psyche. Waver in your righteousness, and it weakens. As we trace these curses through history, one application stands as the starkest warning. The night in 1981, when fanaticism met family, shattering lives in a haze of red light. That leads us straight into Chapter 6, the Longbottom Tragedy, where a single family's agony exposes the curse's deepest scars. and the unbreakable will it couldn't conquer. But while a single blast of Crucio shreds the nervous system from within, leaving no mark on the skin for Protego to block, the true horror unfolds when that curse stretches on, unrelenting hour after hour. No shield in the world can halt the pain once it's inside you, coiling through every nerve like liquid fire. And in 1981, that relentless torment found its most heartbreaking victims in Alice and Frank Longbottom, two of the wizarding world's finest auras, who crossed paths with Bellatrix Strange at the height of Voldemort's war. Picture the scene in that dim, forgotten room at the end of the First Wizarding War. Though I know you don't need to picture it, feel it instead. Alice and Frank had fought bravely against the Dark Lord and his followers, capturing some of his most loyal Death Eaters. But Bellatrix, fresh from Azkaban's grip, or evading it altogether in those chaotic final days, wasn't about to let them walk away with secrets. She cornered them, wand raised, her eyes wild with that fanatic gleam. What began as an interrogation quickly devolved into something far worse. A prolonged assault meant to break their minds before their bodies gave out. Bellatrix didn't cast Crucio once or twice. She unleashed it repeatedly, methodically, forcing the Longbottoms to endure wave after wave of agony that no human tolerance could withstand. Each incantation sent bolts of excruciating pain ripping through their spines, exploding into their limbs, their skulls, every fibre screaming in unison. They twisted on the floor, their bodies convulsing, not from external wounds, but from the curse's invisible assault on their very essence. Witnesses later described it as watching two souls being flayed alive from the inside, their screams echoing until they turned to guttural howls, then to babbling incoherence. This wasn't random cruelty, it was calculated. Bellatrix sought information on Voldemort's whereabouts, his plans after his downfall, but the Longbottoms, loyal to the Order of the Phoenix, refused to crack. So she pushed further, layering Crucio upon Crucio, ignoring their pleas, their thrashing forms. Artemius Crouch Sr. himself authorized the capture of those who tortured them. Bellatrix, her brother-in-law, Rodolphus Lestrange, Rabastan Lestrange, and even young Barty Crouch Jr., disguised and fervent. They all took turns, but Bellatrix led the charge, her laughter cutting through the din like shattered glass. And here's where we cross the threshold of the human mind, that fragile boundary where pain overloads the psyche beyond repair. A single Crucio might leave you shattered but sane, your nerves raw and firing wildly for days, but repeat it enough times, dozens, perhaps hundreds in a single night, and the brain simply can't reboot. The curse doesn't just hurt, it rewires. Magical neurotoxins, if you will, flood the synapses, burning pathways to oblivion. Memories fragment, thoughts splinter into chaos. Reality dissolves into a permanent fog. The Longbottoms didn't die, but they lost everything that made them who they were. Alice, once a fierce protector and mother to young Neville, reduced to giggling at gum wrappers. Frank, the steadfast Auror, muttering nonsense to invisible foes, their minds shattered irreparably by the curse's cumulative onslaught. They were rushed to Sant, Mungo's hospital for magical maladies and injuries, that towering beacon of healing in London's hidden wizarding quarter. Healers there, experts in curse damage, confirmed the worst irreversible magical nerve damage. Unlike a stinging hex or even Sectum Sempra's gashes, which potions and spells could mend, Crucia's repeated fury left scars no Vulnera Sanantur could touch. The hospital's fourth floor, dedicated to spell damage victims, became their lifelong home. Locked away in a ward of the lost, surrounded by others driven mad by dark magic, wizards barking like dogs, witches insisting they were teapots. Saint. Mungo's tried everything. Essence of Dittany for the nerves, Skelligro variants for phantom pains, even experimental memory charms. Nothing pierced the veil. The damage was etched into their magical cores, a testament to why Crucio earned its unforgivable status. Not just for the torture, but for this quiet eternal aftermath. Neville Longbottom, their infant son, grew up visiting them there, pushing through the hospital's creaking corridors, Past the screaming patients and the smell of antiseptic potions, he saw his parents' vacant smiles, felt their uncomprehending pats on his head, and carried that weight into Hogwarts, into the prophecy that marked him as Voldemort's equal. Bellatrix paid for it eventually, of course. Her own wand turned against her in the end, but the Longbottom's tragedy lingers as a stark warning. One Crucio breaks the body, many more obliterate the self. Their story reveals the curse's deepest peril. It doesn't always kill outright, but it robs you of everything worth living for. And as we shift from this bodily unraveling to the spells that seize the will itself, you'll want to stay tuned for Chapter 7, Imperio, the death of free will, where we uncover how total control erases choice forever. While the Cruciatus curse leaves its victims shattered shells, minds irreparably fractured by waves of unrelenting pain, there's a far more insidious spell that doesn't raise a scream or draw a drop of blood. It creeps into your thoughts like mist through a cracked window, dissolving your will before you even realize it's gone. That spell is Imperio, the third unforgivable curse, a silent thief that turns a living person into a marionette dancing on invisible strings. Picture the incantation itself, spoken in a low, commanding voice. Imperio. A thin, silvery jet of light leaps from the wand, thinner than the green flash of Avada Kedavra or the red fury of Crucio. It strikes the victim, and there's no convulsion, no gasp of torment. Instead, the world softens. The target's mind fills with a warm, buoyant haze, as if they've risen into a sunlit cloud where worries evaporate and resistance feels utterly foolish. They float there, serene and detached, watching their own body move to the caster's whims. Jump from that bridge, hand over the prophecy, betray your closest friends. Every command echoes pleasantly, like a suggestion from an old, trusted companion. This is the subtle horror of the imperious curse, and the floating sensation of the victim. A dreamlike euphoria that masks the death of free will, making obedience feel like the most natural choice in the world. That floating detachment isn't just poetic, it's the spell's cruel genius. Your consciousness lingers, aware but powerless, a passenger in your own skin. Victims describe it later. They ever break free, as drifting high above themselves, limbs light as feathers, thoughts muffled by an unnatural calm. No chains bind you, no pain compels you, you're simply willing, blissfully, horrifyingly willing. In the wrong hands, this turns allies into unwitting traitors, families against each other, entire societies into obedient hordes. Voldemort wielded it masterfully during his first rise, his Death Eaters slipping it onto Muggle-borns and Ministry skeptics alike, building his network from the inside out. And nowhere was this more devastating than in historical instances of high-ranking Ministry officials being puppeteered from the shadows. Go back to the early 20th century, when whispers of pure-blood supremacy first slithered through the halls of power. Unsuspecting department heads, even the Minister for Magic himself in one hushed scandal from the 1950s, suddenly championed policies that reeked of dark influence. Policies like stricter Muggle registration, purges of half-blood staff, measures too perfectly aligned with Voldemort's future agenda to be coincidence. These puppets signed decrees by day, attended galas by night, all while their true selves floated helplessly, screaming silently from that foggy prison in their minds. The Ministry covered it up as administrative oversights, but Aurors knew better. Imperio left no scars, no detectable residue, like Avada Kedavra's soul echo, making it the perfect tool for subversion. By the time Voldemort openly returned in 1995, he'd already ceded his control through such shadows, culminating in Pius Thickness, the senior undersecretary puppeteered into minister, his every speech a parroted manifesto of tyranny. Resisting Imperio demands something rare, a fortress of willpower forged in the fires of conviction and grit. Most wizards crumple under its haze, their egos too fragile to fight the seductive pull, but a few, those with exceptional willpower, can claw back control. Harry Potter felt it first in 1994 during Mad-Eye Moody's defense against the Dark Arts class. Under the real Moody's demonstration, that silvery light hit him square and the float began. Warm fog enveloped his thoughts. Why struggle? Why not just enjoy the ride? But Harry's mind rebelled. Memories of loss, anger at injustice, a bone-deep refusal to bend, they surged like a storm through the mist. He fought, thrashed internally, forcing his body to disobey simple commands like hurt a classmate. Voldemort tried it again that summer in the graveyard, commanding Harry to join him. But the boy's will held firm once more. It's not magic or counter spells that defend against Imperio. Vertigo bounces it sometimes, but rarely. It's the unyielding core of who you are. Only those who've stared down their own darkness, who've chosen morality over ease time and again, can shatter that blissful illusion and reclaim their soul. This curse's terror lies in its invisibility. Unlike Crucio's screams or Avada Kedavra's finality, Imperio spreads like a virus through trust. Draco Malfoy learned that in 1996, cursing Madame Rosmerta and Katie Bell to carry a cursed necklace. Their faces serene as they handed over death disguised as a gift. Even Harry crossed that line later, in the chaos of war, bending Travers and the Goblin Bogrod to his will during a desperate raid. The spell washed off Bogrod midway, but Harry reapplied it without hesitation, their blank eyes staring back as they led him deeper into peril. Each use chips at the caster's own humanity, whispering that control is power, that free will is a weakness to be crushed. The wizarding world classified Imperio as unforgivable in 1717 for good reason. It doesn't just harm the body, it erases the self. Courts hand out life in Azkaban without mercy, yet in shadows of war, temptation lingers. What happens when even heroes taste that power, wielding it not from hatred, but necessity? That's the shadow we'll chase next in Chapter 8. The Gringotts Heist, Harry's moral decay, where one desperate break-in forces the Chosen One to confront the monster he's becoming. But when even the mightiest wizards in the Ministry fall under that invisible leash, the curse's true terror reveals itself in the hands of those we least expect. Harry Potter, the boy who lived, the one prophesied to vanquish Voldemort, turned that same spell on two unwitting souls deep beneath the streets of Diagon Alley. It was the summer of 1998, with Death Eaters ruling the wizarding world and Hogwarts under Snape's iron grip. Harry, Ron and Hermione had no choice but to infiltrate Gringotts itself, the goblin-run fortress guarding Bellatrix Lestrange's vault, and with it one of Voldemort's Horcruxes, Hufflepuff's cup. Disguised with Polyjuice Potion as Ministry officials, they slipped past the dragon-guarded doors, but real access demanded more than a stolen face. Bogrod, the senior goblin clerk with his ledger and keys, stood as their first barrier. Harry raised his wand, whispered Imperio, and felt the curse take hold like a silken thread slipping into the goblin's mind. Travers came next, the hulking Death Eater patrolling the cart tracks, his dark mark fresh from service to the Dark Lord. Harry hit him too, the spell weaving through the air, without a flash or scream, just a sudden glaze in Travers' eyes as his will dissolved into blissful obedience. Picture it, the trio tumbling into the underground minecarts, whipping through crystal-lit tunnels at breakneck speed, Bogrod and Travers riding ahead like loyal puppets, directing the goblins to bypass every ward and lock. Harry's commands echoed silently in their heads. Open the vault, ignore the alarms, pretend nothing's amiss. For those fleeting minutes, he wielded the Emperor's power, puppeteering not shadows in the Ministry, but the very guardians of wizarding wealth. Yet Gringotts hid defences no Imperius could fully conquer. As their cart plunged toward the high-security vaults, they hurtled through the thief's downfall, a cascading waterfall enchanted to strip away all disguises, glamours, and foreign magics. The water hit like icy needles, revealing their true faces in an instant, polyjuice beading off their skin. Worse, it shattered the Imperius curse binding Bogrod. The goblin blinked, shook his head, and horror flooded his features as fragments of his stolen autonomy returned. He lunged for controls, screaming for guards, his mind clawing back from the void Harry had forced him into. Harry didn't hesitate. Amid the screeching rails and goblin shrieks, he reapplied the curse, slamming Imperio back into Bogrod's skull before full rebellion could spread. Travers remained under, his trance unbroken by the deluge, but the strain showed. Harry's focus splintering under the cart's wild spins, the roar of alarms, and the heat of pursuing flames from triggered copy multipliers in the vault. Maintaining mind control here wasn't just a spell, it was a battle against chaos. The thief's downfall didn't merely wash away illusions. Its ancient goblin magic targeted invasive enchantments, unraveling the delicate web of suggestion that Imperio relies on. Victims feel a euphoric float, yes, but that haze weakens under physical shock or anti-charm torrents, demanding the caster pour relentless will to knit it anew. Harry's sweat-slick grip on his wand, barking silent orders amid the inferno, exposed the curse's fragility, powerful for subtlety, but brittle in the storm of real desperation. This wasn't Harry's first brush with the unforgivables. He'd tried Crucio before and failed, rage alone insufficient to fuel true darkness. But Imperio flowed from him now, cold and precise, born not of hatred but necessity. Travers and Bogrod became extensions of his intent, marching through fire, ignoring burns that seared their flesh, all while Harry wrestled the moral weight. Was this victory or surrender? The goblin cart exploded behind them, the dragon broke free, and they escaped with the cup. But at what cost to the Chosen One's soul? You see the decay setting in. Harry had mocked the curse in Moody's class years earlier, resisting its pull with sheer defiance. Now he embraced it, mirroring Voldemort's arsenal to dismantle the monster's empire. Does the end justify wielding his enemy's tools? Travers, a murderer who'd served at Malfoy Manor, torturing innocents, didn't he deserve the leash? Bogrod, complicit in hoarding dark treasures, merely a cog in Gringotts' neutral greed. Yet Harry stripped their agency, forced them to betray their own kind, risking their lives in the vault's multiplying blaze. One slip, and his puppets might have turned the cart into a tomb for all aboard. The prophecy demanded Voldemort's defeat, but this path echoed the Dark Lord's creed. Power over mercy, control as salvation. Harry's friends watched in silence, Ron grimacing, Hermione pale, but none protested. In war's grey haze, the unforgivable blurred into survival, eroding the line between light and shadow one reapplication at a time. By the heist's end, as they soared from Gringotts on Dragonback, Harry clutched the Horcrux, for the real fracture lay within. He tasted the curse's seductive ease, the godlike rush of bending wills without resistance. Future battles would test if this was a necessary plunge or the first step toward becoming what he fought. That question lingers, pulling us deeper into the forbidden, and it only sharpens for Chapter 9, Sectum Sempra, the invisible sword, where a teenage prodigy crafts a spell so vicious it carves enemies from the inside out. Wait till you hear how it nearly ends Draco in a bathroom brawl dripping with unintended blood. Harry's desperate use of the Imperious Curse in the Gringotts vault marked a low point in his moral slide. But it wasn't the first time he crossed into the shadows of truly forbidden magic. That grim milestone came a year earlier, in the damp chill of a Hogwarts bathroom, where a spell scribbled in the margins of an old potions textbook unleashed horrors no healing charm could fully erase. Sectum Sempra didn't spring from ancient grimoires or Voldemort's twisted rituals. It was born from the angry quill of a teenage Severus Snape, a boy navigating the treacherous halls of Hogwarts in the 1970s. Picture him hunched over his battered copy of advanced potion making, the pages worn thin from endless revisions. In the cramped margins, amid notes on essence of boomslang and lacewing flies, he jotted down spells of vengeance, curses honed for rivals who tormented him as a half-blood outsider. Sectum Sempra was one such creation, a slash of invisible fury labelled simply for enemies. No incantation history traces it further back. It was Snape's own invention, raw and untested, fueled by the bitterness of schoolyard bullying from James Potter and Sirius Black. He never meant it for the world, just a private arsenal against those who made his life hell. Yet those faded ink scratches would ripple through decades, proving that even a prodigy's petty grudge could birth something lethally dark. Fast forward to 1997, 6th year at Hogwarts, and the spell finds its bloody debut. Harry Potter, now the unwitting heir to the Half-Blood Prince's textbook, stumbles upon Sectum Sempra amid his own paranoia. Draco Malfoy has been vanishing into the Moaning Myrtle's bathroom for weeks. Pale and frantic, his hands scarred from a cursed necklace meant for Dumbledore, Harry, convinced Draco's plotting murder, bursts in one fateful afternoon. Words fly like hexes. Draco's weak Crucio rebounds off Harry's dodge. Then Harry, instincts overriding caution, snarls Sectum Sempra. No one warned him what it did. The air splits with unseen blades. Draco crumples against the sinks, gashes erupting across his chest, face, arms, deep ragged wounds as if carved by a phantom sword. Blood sprays in arcs, pooling thick and dark on the tiled floor, the metallic tang filling the stall. He writhes, choking on screams, flesh parting in precise, merciless strokes that keep coming, deeper with each phantom swing. Moaning Myrtle shrieks from her U-bend, water splashing as Harry stands frozen, staring at the carnage he's wrought. It's not a clean kill like Avada Kedavra's green flash. No instant drop, no mercy. This is for enemies magic at its gruesome reality. A slow evisceration, wounds begetting wounds until the victim drowns in their own lifeblood. Snape arrives like a storm, his face a mask of controlled fury. He doesn't lecture, he acts. Vulnera sanantur, he murmurs, over and over, weaving his hands in intricate patterns that knit flesh and staunch the flow. Draco survives, barely, but the scars linger, physical echoes of trauma that no potion fully fades. Harry flees to the hospital wing, haunted by the sight, realizing too late he's wielded something far beyond a stinging hex. What sets Sectum Sempra apart, making it darker than even some unforgivables, lies in those lingering effects. Avada Kedavra ends it all in a heartbeat. Organs seize, the body slumps gone. Crucio racks the nerves with agony that fades once the caster relents, leaving bruises on the mind but not the flesh. Imperio puppets the will, washable away like a thief's downfall charm. But Sectum Sempra, it doesn't just cut, it curses the wounds to resist healing. Blood loss compounding into shock, infection, psychological terror. Victims don't die quickly. They suffer aware, fighting every ragged breath as their body betrays them. Snape's countercharm demands genius-level skill, timing it perfectly to the spell's rhythm, or the victim bleeds out in minutes. It's intimate cruelty, prolonging the enemy's pain, turning a duel into a drawn-out execution. Wizards whisper it's worse for the soul too. Using it imprints a taste for needless suffering, a step toward the irreversible corruption of repeated dark arts. In the end, that bathroom bloodbath forced Harry to question every margin note in his pilfered book, peeling back layers on its true author. But the Half-Blood Prince's legacy runs deeper still, unraveling secrets that bind Snape's past to the war's heart. Stay with me for chapter 10, where those textbook shadows finally step into the light. That for enemies scrawl in the Half-Blood Prince's textbook captured more than just a spell's brutal intent. It revealed the hand of a boy already edging toward shadows, Severus Snape, whose teenage genius birthed Sectum Sempra amid the raw pain of his Hogwarts years. Picture the damp dungeons of Slytherin Common Room, Quill scratching late into the night as Severus honed his potion's talent into something sharper, deadlier, bullied relentlessly by James Potter and Sirius Black. Isolated from his muggle-born love Lily Evans, he poured that festering resentment into margins, inventing curses that slashed without mercy. Sectum Sempra wasn't born of whimsy. It mirrored his growing affinity for the dark arts, the kind whispered about in Nocturne Alley, drawing him inexorably toward the Death Eaters by his late teens. You can almost feel the chill of that descent in the spell itself. Deep, tearing gashes that no ordinary episci could mend. A deliberate cruelty echoing the ideology of those who prized power over pity. Snape's brilliance lay not just in destruction, but in the fragile balance he struck with creation. When Harry unleashed Sectum Sempra on Draco Malfoy in that 6th-year bathroom, the air filled with the wet rip of invisible blades carving chest, arms, face, blood spraying the tiles in dark arcs, Draco collapsing in a gurgling pool, life ebbing with every pulse. Chaos reigned until Snape burst in, his face a mask of controlled fury. He didn't reach for Dittany or blood-replenishing potion first. No, he chanted the counter-curse he alone knew, Vulnera Sanantur. Soft vowels rolled from his lips like a healer's incantation reversed, and the wounds began to knit, flesh weaving shut, blood reversing its flow, sucked back into gashes as if time itself unravelled. Why was Vulnera Sanantur the only way to stop the bleeding? Sectum Sempra's magic didn't just cut. It enchanted the wounds to gape eternally, preventing natural clotting, mimicking the deepest arterial severing while defying mundane medicine. Standard healing charms bounced off, useless against the dark infusion that kept tissues ragged and hemorrhaging. Snape had woven the antidote into the curse's very fabric during its invention, a secret tether only he could pull, ensuring his supremacy over his own darkness. Even then, salvation came laced with permanence. Draco survived, but those slashes left their mark, pale, silvery lines etching his face forever, a ghostly map of near death. Wounds from dark magic often cannot be fully healed, because the curse embeds malevolent energy into the victim's essence, like ink seeping into parchment. Healers at St. Mungo's could smooth the surface, fade the scars with salves and time, but the dark residue lingered, a whisper of corruption that resisted total erasure. Think of Harry's lightning bolt forehead scar, a remnant of Avada Kedavra's echo, or the Longbottom's shattered minds from repeated Cruciatus. Dark spells don't just harm the body, they imprint on the soul, defying even the most skilled meaty wizards. Snape understood this intimately, carrying his own burdens of regret. Yet his legacy in Sectum Sempra endures as a testament to how one boy's pain can scar generations. In the Half-Blood Prince's Potions book, amidst stained pages and scribbled triumphs, Sectum Sempra stood as Snape's most infamous heirloom, passed unwittingly to Harry, who wielded it in blind rage. The spell's legacy rippled through the war, a reminder that forbidden magic tempts with precision, but binds with blood. Draco's survival hinged on Snape's mercy, but the prince's shadow stretched further, influencing duels and betrayals yet to unfold. While Sectum Sempra carves the flesh, the spell in Chapter 11, Fiendfire, the living flame, consumes worlds entire, unleashing a blaze that thinks, hunts and devours even the immortal, leaving you to wonder if any wizard could tame its hunger without becoming its fuel. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. While Severus Snape could mend the gashes of Sectum Sempra with his whispered Vulnera Sanantur, drawing the wounds closed like threads pulled through flesh, there existed a force in the dark arts that no counter-curse could tame. A blaze born, not of ordinary flame but of pure malice. Fiendfire erupts from a wizard's wand as a torrent of cursed fire, twisting into living shapes that prowl and strike with predatory hunger. You can almost feel its heat warping the air. Hear the roar as it morphs into serpents with fangs of ember or chimeras spewing gouts of inferno from leonine moors. This isn't fire that merely burns. It thinks, it pursues, devouring wood, stone, even the very magic woven into enchanted objects, leaving behind nothing but ash and echoes of screams. What sets Fiendfire apart in the grim catalogue of forbidden spells is its sheer volatility, the volatile nature of cursed fire, and its ability to consume the caster. Even masters of the dark arts tread warily around it. For one lapse in concentration, one flicker of doubt, and the flames turn inward with vengeful fury. The blaze feeds on intent, growing wilder if the summoners will falters, coiling back like a serpent biting its own tail. Dumbledore himself forbade its use within Hogwarts, not just for the devastation it wrought, but for the nightmare of extinguishing it afterward. Spells like Aguamenti fizzling uselessly against its sentient rage. This unrelenting hunger made Fiendfire one of the few substances capable of destroying a Horcrux. Those soul shards, shielded by layers of ancient enchantments and Voldemort's fractured essence, laughed off basilisk venom or simple explosive charms, their dark cores regenerating amid the rubble. But Fiendfire's cursed essence pierced deeper, unravelling the Horcrux's magic at its root, reducing diary, locket or diadem to cinders that could never reform. It was as if the fire itself carried a judgment, seeking out the unholy fragments and feasting until only purity through annihilation remained. No tale captures this peril more starkly than the tragedy of Vincent Crabbe, a cautionary tale of power-exceeding ability. In the chaos of the Battle of Hogwarts, as Death Eaters stormed the castle in 1998, Crabbe cornered Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley inside the Room of Requirement, the ever-shifting chamber bloated with Hogwarts' hidden treasures. Desperate to prove his worth to Draco Malfoy and the Dark Lord, Crabbe bellowed the incantation, unleashing Fiendfire in a bid to trap his foes amid the blaze. At first it obeyed, surging forth as monstrous beasts, dragons with scales of molten gold, hydras with heads that multiplied in the smoke, devouring books, cabinets, and cursed artifacts in a storm of crackling destruction. The air thickened with acrid smoke, the heat blistering skin from yards away, as the flames sculpted horrors from the shadows. But Crabbe, never more than a blunt instrument of brute force, lacked the finesse to rein it in. The fire sensed his faltering grip, his mind clouded by panic and blind loyalty, and in an instant it rebelled. Tendrils of flame lashed out, coiling around him like fiery pythons, ignoring his frantic slashes with his wand. He screamed, a guttural howl swallowed by the inferno, as the blaze consumed him whole, leaving only charred bones amid the ruins. In its rampage, though, the Fiendfire unwittingly fulfilled a greater purpose. It raised Rowena Ravenclaw's lost diadem, one of Voldemort's Horcruxes hidden in the room's depths, its protections crumbling under the onslaught. Harry barely escaped on a conjured broom, the flames nipping at his heels, a reminder that even in folly, such magic could topple the mighty. Crabbe's end etched Fiendfire into legend as the wizard's ultimate gamble, a spell that promised apocalypse but delivered it without mercy. Yet amid the wizarding wars, other flames served darker designs, like those woven into Protego Diabolica, the Ring of Judgment, a barrier that burned away all but the truly devoted. What allegiance did it demand, and how did it warp the souls who dared to summon it? While Fiendfire devours without mercy, turning stone to ash, and even Horcruxes to oblivion, if wielded just right, there's another fire in the shadows of dark magic that burns with chilling precision. Protego Diabolica, the Ring of Judgment, doesn't lash out blindly. It encircles, it judges, it spares only the devoted. Picture a circle of ethereal blue flames rising from the earth, not the roaring orange inferno of Fiendfire, but a serene, humming barrier that pulses like a living heartbeat. This was Gellert Grindelwald's signature defense, the spell he unleashed during his reign of terror in the 1920s and 30s, when he sought to unite wizards under his banner of blood purity and domination. He'd cast it around his fortresses, his rallies, his inner sanctums, watching as it formed an impenetrable ring. Followers stepped through unharmed, their faith shielding them like an invisible cloak. But traitors, spies, or the merely hesitant, they ignited in agony, reduced to cinders before they could scream. What sets Protego Diabolica apart from the savage hunger of Fiendfire is this control, this selectivity. Fiendfire is a beast unchained, spawning serpents and tigers from the flames themselves, growing smarter and more destructive with every moment, impossible to summon back once loosed. It doesn't discern friend from foe. It consumes until nothing remains, and woe to the caster who loses their grip. Protego Diabolica, by contrast, is a sentinel, a blue veil of protection that welcomes the pure of purpose while turning lethal on the unworthy. Its fire as a lie detector, born from ancient protective charms twisted into something profane. Grindelwald wielded it masterfully as a loyalty test for his followers. In the height of his European campaign, He'd summon the ring around his war councils, forcing acolytes to cross its threshold, those who believed utterly in his vision. For the greater good, he'd whisper, as flames licked the air, passed safely, their magic resonating with the spell's intent. Doubt was the spark that doomed them, a whispered hesitation, a flicker of conscience about the Muggle purges, or the subjugation of the old bloodlines, and the blue fire would flare white-hot, searing flesh from bone. It wasn't just heat, it read the soul, probing for cracks in allegiance. This judgment warped reality itself around the caster's will. The flames didn't merely burn, they unraveled the fabric of existence for those with doubt in their hearts. Imagine stepping forward, your wand raised in feigned obedience, only for the air to thicken, molecules twisting under the spell's gaze. Your very magic betrays you, amplifying the fire's touch until it incinerates from within. Skin blisters not from contact, but from the spell perceiving disloyalty as a foreign curse, dissolving protective charms, shielding spells, even the victim's innate wizarding essence. Historical accounts from Nurmengard survivors describe it as a silent executioner, blue serenity for the faithful, a vortex of annihilation for the rest. Grindelwald refined it over decades, drawing from obscure tomes in Durmstrang's forbidden archives, where Eastern European dark wizards experimented with fire elementals. He'd layer it with nonverbal intent, making the ring expand or contract at a thought, encircling battlefields to trap enemies, while his legions advanced unscathed. During the obscurial crisis of 1927, when he clashed with Dumbledore in Bhutan, whispers say he ringed the monastery, testing his inner circle mid-battle. Only the most fanatical emerged, their robes singed but spirits unbroken, while rivals smouldered at the perimeter. The spell's danger lies in its subtlety, its moral corrosion. Unlike Fiendfire's obvious peril, Protego Diabolica tempts the caster toward paranoia, turning allies into suspects. Grindelwald grew isolated, his trust eroded by the flame's verdicts, paving the way for his downfall at Dumbledore's hands in 1945. Yet its legacy lingers. Voldemort studied it, adapting elements for his own defenses, though he favoured raw power over such nuanced judgment. In the end, Protego Diabolica reminds us that the darkest spells aren't always the loudest. They whisper promises of security, only to demand absolute surrender. And if you think oaths sealed in magic can bind tighter than fire ever could, wait until you hear about the unbreakable vow, a fatal contract that turns promises into nooses. While Protego Diabolica demanded blind allegiance through flames that spared only the faithful, there existed a far subtler enchantment that forged chains no fire could rival. One that wove promises into the very fabric of existence, sealing fates with a whisper. This was the unbreakable vow, a ritual so profound it turned spoken words into an inexorable law of magic, where betrayal meant not agony or expulsion, but instantaneous cessation of life itself. Picture the dim, grimy confines of Spinner's End in the summer of 1996, where the air hung heavy with coal dust and unspoken dread. Narcissa Malfoy, her pale face etched with a mother's terror, crossed that forsaken threshold, dragging her sister Bellatrix in her wake. Draco, her only son, had been branded with the Dark Mark, tasked by Voldemort himself to assassinate Albus Dumbledore, a mission no 16-year-old could hope to fulfill without aid. Narcissa sought not mere assistance, but an oath etched in eternity. Snape, cloaked in shadows by his flickering fire, listened as her pleas spilled out, raw and unfiltered. He knew the peril. He had danced this edge before. Yet in that moment, amid the squalor of his childhood home, he extended his hand, clasping Narcissa's with deliberate calm, and consented to the binding. The ritual itself unfolds like a sacrament of the damned, demanding precision and trust in equal measure. Two wizards stand face to face, their right hands locked in a grip that symbolizes the merging of intents. A third figure, the Bonder, circles them, wand poised like a judge's gavel. This Bonder serves as the impartial witness, channeling the ancient magic that animates the vow. No mere bystander, but the conduit through which the enchantment awakens. In this case, Bellatrix Lestrange, with her wild black hair and fanatic gleam, took that role, her wand tip hovering over their joined hands. As the words of the pact are intoned, clear, deliberate, without hesitation, golden flames erupt from the point-point contact, coiling like living serpents around their arms. Each clause ignites a new thread. First, to watch over Draco Malfoy. Second, to carry out the deed if the boy faltered. Third, to pursue no other aim above this sacred charge. The chains tighten, pulsing with otherworldly light, until the vow solidifies, invisible yet omnipresent, embedding itself into their souls. That ritualistic binding of two souls, witnessed and empowered by the bonder, creates a contract more binding than any chain forged by goblin hands. Once sealed, it permits no loophole, no regret, no reversal. The magic permeates the vow-maker's essence, monitoring every thought and deed with relentless vigilance. Fail to uphold it, and the body rebels, heart stilled, breath snatched away in a gasp that echoes the vow's final syllable. It's not a curse cast in rage, but a promise turned predator, patient until the moment of transgression. Snape understood this intimately as he uttered his assent to Narcissa Malfoy in 1996. He staked his life on fulfilling her desperate charge, the literal death sentence of failure looming like a shadow over every step he took toward Hogwarts that year. What makes this enchantment all the more chilling is its autonomy from wizarding authority. The Ministry of Magic, for all its Auror squads and regulatory decrees, stands powerless before private magical contracts of this magnitude. These vows trace back through centuries of pure-blood tradition, predating the department's formation, rooted in oaths sworn in candlelit manners long before wands were registered or spells catalogued. They're consensual pacts between equals, woven from personal magic so intimate and arcane that interference would unravel the fabric of wizardkind's oldest customs. Much like meddling in a blood adoption or a goblin-forged will. To void one would invite chaos, as the enchantment draws from the participant's own cause, self-enforcing without need of external judgment. Fudge's administration, or even Scrimgeour's later, turned a blind eye. Such bindings were sacrosanct, a realm where the ministry feared to tread, lest it provoke the ancient families who still whispered of rebellions past. Snape navigated this lethal tether with masterful deception, his true allegiance a labyrinth even Bellatrix couldn't pierce. As Draco wavered atop the astronomy tower, one trembling against Dumbledore's defenseless form, Snape arrived, not as saviour to the headmaster, but as the vow's inexorable executioner. That green flash fulfilled the pact, silencing Narcissa's fears, even as it shattered alliances elsewhere. Yet the vow's shadow lingered. Had Snape hesitated, his own end would have come swiftly, veins igniting from within, a silent collapse amid the tower's stones. This spell's forbidden aura stems not from destruction, but from its erasure of choice, the ultimate perversion of free will, mirroring the imperious curse yet internalized, self-imposed. Wizards of old reserved it for marriages among the elite, ensuring dynastic loyalties, but its weaponization in darker hands elevated it to peril. Rare texts hint at botched rituals, where incomplete phrasing led to premature deaths, or bonder bias tainted the magic's purity. Even Dumbledore, master of so many secrets, spoke of it only in hushed warnings, knowing one slip could doom the speaker eternally. In the end, the unbreakable vow stands as a testament to magic's double edge, a tool for unbreakable fidelity, or a noose disguised as nobility. But if you think a vow's death grip is the pinnacle of taboo, wait until we delve into Horcruxes, the ultimate taboo, where the soul itself fractures beyond repair for a taste of eternity. While the unbreakable vow shackles two souls together under the shadow of instant death, Tom Riddle pursued a far more profane violation, one that tore a single soul asunder, piece by jagged piece. Horcruxes stand as the pinnacle of forbidden magic, the act so reviled that even the most hardened dark wizards spoke of it, only in hushed whispers, as if naming it might summon its curse upon themselves. To create a Horcrux, a wizard doesn't merely cast a spell, They perform the ultimate desecration of their own essence. The process begins with an incantation lost to all but the deepest archives of dark lore, a ritual that rips the soul violently in two. But this splitting doesn't happen through sheer force of will or arcane power alone. No, it demands a catalyst so heinous that it stains the very fabric of magic. Premeditated murder. You take a life, not in the heat of battle or self-defense, but with cold intent, and in that moment of unnatural severance, the snuffing out of another's soul, your own fractures, the murdered victim's death scream, echoes through your being, weakening the barriers that hold your spirit intact. It's this killing that provides the jolt, the raw surge of dominance over life itself, allowing you to isolate a fragment of your soul and bind it into an object, a locket, a diary, a cup, and storing it there forever. Why is this deemed the most vile act in all of magic? Because the soul is the core of a wizard's humanity, the immortal spark that defies even death. To mutilate it willingly is to reject the natural order, to mimic the fragmented existence of ghosts or inferi, but on purpose for ambition. Dumbledore himself called it an act beyond redemption, warning that each split renders the creator less whole, more monstrous. The body endures, but the soul, once pure and indivisible, becomes a grotesque mosaic, its pieces scattered and unstable. No healer can mend such a wound. No potion can restore what you've willingly shattered. It's not power that Horcruxes grant, but a perverted immortality, one that twists the user into something barely recognizable as human. Tom Riddle, the brilliant orphan who would become Lord Voldemort, first crossed this threshold in 1943, while still a student at Hogwarts. His first victim was Myrtle Warren, the weeping girl in the bathroom, killed to forge the diary Horcrux. At that point, his soul split cleanly into two, one piece remaining in his body, the other sealed away. He was still handsome then, with his dark hair perfectly combed, his features sharp and aristocratic, his mind a razor of intellect and charm. But already, the seed of degradation took root. Each subsequent murder deepened the rift. By the time he claimed his second Horcrux, the enchanted ring of his grandfather Gaunt, the subtle changes began. His skin paled unnaturally, his eyes took on a crimson gleam in moments of rage. As Riddle escalated, crafting three more, the locket from Slytherin's vaults, the cup of Hufflepuff, and Ravenclaw's diadem, his physical form started to warp, his nose flattened, vanishing into slits like a serpent's, his teeth yellowed and sharpened, his skin stretched taut over bones that seemed too prominent, too elongated. Witnesses from his later years described a face that repelled even his followers, hairless and scaly, with a lipless mouth hissing threats. But the mental toll was far worse. The soul's fragmentation bred instability. Paranoia gripped him, making him lash out at shadows, distrust even his most loyal Death Eaters. Simple decisions became labyrinths of doubt. His once masterful magic grew erratic, fueled by rage rather than precision. He screamed at Nagini, his sole confidant, for imagined betrayals. Laughter escaped him in high-pitched bursts, devoid of joy. Pushing to 7 Horcruxes shattered him beyond repair. The final split came unintentionally during the failed killing of an infant Harry Potter in 1981. That rebounding curse tore off another fragment, which latched onto the boy as an unintended 8th anchor. By then, Riddle's mind was a storm of contradictions, brilliant strategies undermined by childish tantrums, grand visions eroded by fear of death. He hid in Albania as a wraith, bodiless and raging, his soul shards pulling in different directions like a ship torn by conflicting winds. Followers who knew him from his handsome youth barely recognized the creature that returned. His voice, once smooth persuasion, became a sibilant rasp. Every gesture betrayed the inhuman. Fingers like talons, eyes without pupils, flickering with malice. This degradation wasn't mere vanity lost. It was the soul's protest against its own vivisection. Each Horcrux demanded maintenance, vigilance against destruction, turning immortality into a prison of constant dread. Riddle's quest for godhood left him a parody of power, his body a vessel for fractured remnants, his mind a battlefield where sanity fled. Even as he amassed followers, he stood alone, the architect of his own unravelling. And yet, for all its horror, the Horcrux ritual paled in depravity next to the necromantic ceremony that birthed Voldemort anew from that spectral limbo. Up next in Chapter 15, the Little Hangleton Ritual, where bone, flesh and blood conspire in a graveyard to defy death itself. Wait until you hear the unwilling roles Harry Potter played in it, while a Horcrux demanded the raw act of murder to splinter the soul into fragments. Voldemort's desperate bid for a new body in 1995 called for something far more ritualistic and personal, ingredients ripped from the living and the dead, woven into an ancient necromantic rite that mocked the boundaries of mortality itself. It was June 24th, 1995, in the shadowed graveyard of Little Hangleton, the very soil where Voldemort's Muggle father had been murdered decades before. Harry Potter, only 14, had just touched the Triwizard Cup, a portkey disguised as the third task's trophy, only to be yanked from the Hogwarts maze into this forsaken place. Bound and disoriented, he watched as Peter Pettigrew, Wormtail, the snivelling servant who'd betrayed the Potters, prepared the cauldron under a starless sky. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay, the Riddle family gravestone looming like a sentinel. Wormtail began by unearthing the bone of Tom Riddle Sr., Voldemort's father, from that weathered grave. With a trembling, he cast it into the boiling cauldron, the earth parting reluctantly as if protesting the desecration. This wasn't mere theft. It symbolized inheritance twisted into resurrection, the paternal legacy stolen to birth a monster anew. Ancient sacrificial magic revered bone as the enduring scaffold of life, the unyielding frame that outlasts flesh and blood, carrying the essence of lineage through generations. Next came the flesh of the servant, willingly given. Wormtail severed his own right hand with a jagged knife, the wet thud echoing in the silence as blood sprayed the grass. He dropped the mangled piece into the brew, his screams swallowed by the night. In old rites, flesh embodied loyalty and submission. The servant's body offered as a bridge between worlds, binding the caster's will to the resurrected one's power. This act wasn't just sacrifice, it was transubstantiation, turning betrayal into rebirth. Finally, the blood of the enemy, taken in defiance. Wormtail slashed Harry's arm, filling a vial with the thick, warm crimson. As the blood hit the cauldron, it flared with an unholy light, the potion swirling into a grotesque stew of regeneration. Blood, in sacrificial lore, held the spark of opposition, the vital force of life itself, stolen to fuel immortality. Together, bone, flesh and blood formed a trinity of ancient power. Structure from the past, devotion from the present, vitality from the adversary. These weren't random components. They echoed primordial rituals where wizards bartered with death, using kin, kin's kin and blood foes to defy the grave. Voldemort emerged from the cauldron like a serpent uncoiling, his spectral form, reduced to a wraith since his failed killing curse on baby Harry 14 years prior. Now clad in a rudimentary body of sinew and shadow, naked and infantile at first, he grew before their eyes, skin knitting over bones, eyes sharpening with malice. But this was no fleeting phantom. The ritual bypassed the wizarding laws of life and death that bound even the darkest magic. Standard necromancy might summon shades or temporary vessels, fragile echoes doomed to fade. Here, the triple sacrifice created a permanent anchor, a body woven from stolen mortality, immune to the soul's natural dissipation. You see, when Voldemort's original form shattered in Godric's hollow, his fragmented soul clung to life through sheer will and Horcruxes, leaving him bodiless, dependent on possession. Resurrection spells like those in dusty tomes required a willing host or phoenix tears for purity, neither fitting his tainted essence. This little Hangleton rite, pieced from forbidden grimoires, exploited the sacrificial triad to reconstruct him fully. The bone provided genetic continuity, the flesh loyalty's conduit, the blood, Harry's blood, carrying a piece of Voldemort's soul from that original curse. A parasitic link that stabilized the new form. It cheated death's finality, granting not just revival but endurance, a vessel strong enough for his return to power. Wormtail received a silver hand as reward, but the true cost lingered in the air, the murders preceding it. Cedric Diggory's fresh corpse lay nearby, killed by the Portkeys trap, and Wormtail's earlier killings ensured the ritual's potency. The graveyard pulsed with dark energy, the cauldron's steam curling like approving spectres. Voldemort tested his rebirth immediately, summoning Death Eaters with his reclaimed U-Wand, their dark marks burning as they apparated in grovelling terror. This necromantic masterpiece revealed the depths of forbidden magic's allure. Power born from violation, permanence forged in graveyard soil. Yet it bound Voldemort tighter to his enemies, Harry's blood unknowingly linking their fates in ways that would unravel everything. That same night, as wands clashed in the graveyard's mist, a deeper mystery unfolded, where the wand itself rebelled, echoing spells from the past, in a phenomenon known as priori incantatem, the wand's memory. What secrets did those golden threads reveal? And how did they nearly doom Voldemort from the start? As the dark ritual in Little Hangleton Graveyard reached its gruesome climax, with Voldemort's spectral form twisting into flesh and bone through that unholy brew of sacrifice, he turned his crimson eyes straight to the bound Harry Potter. The boy who had thwarted him once before now stood trembling under Wormtail's grip, his wand clutched desperately in his hand. Voldemort raised his own U-Wand, the one that shared a feather from the same phoenix that had given Harry his holy companion, and with a high, cold laugh, he hissed the killing curse. Avada Kedavra burst forth in a jet of green light, but Harry, heart-pounding, yelled Expelliarmus without a second thought. The two spells collided mid-air, not in a shattering explosion, but in a blinding golden light that fused them together. Beams locked, unbreakable, pulling the wands toward each other like magnets forged in the same fire. A humming energy filled the graveyard, the ground trembling faintly as if the earth itself recoiled from the clash. Harry's arm shook violently, his feet sliding in the damp grass, but he held on, driven by some primal instinct he couldn't name. Voldemort's face twisted in fury and confusion. This wasn't how his curse was supposed to end. What unfolded next was the rare phenomenon of the reverse spell effect during that 1995 graveyard duel, a spectacle so uncommon that even the most ancient texts whisper of it only in footnotes. When two wands with brother cores, like those twin phoenix feathers from forks, connect under such strain, they don't merely repel, they resonate, delving into the very history etched into the wood. Harry's holy wand began to force Voldemort's U-brother to yield its secrets, unravelling the spells it had cast in reverse order, pulling them out like threads from a tapestry stained with death. First came the echo of Cedric Diggory, the handsome Hufflepuff champion murdered just minutes before. Under that Triwizard Cup's glow, a pearly white shadow emerged from the wand's tip, misty yet substantial, hovering in the night air with Cedric's familiar features. He didn't speak at first, just stared at Harry with eyes full of quiet shock, his form rippling like smoke caught in a breeze. Then Bertha Yorkins, the Ministry Witch whose mind Voldemort had shattered for information, a plump figure materializing next, mouth opening in a silent gasp. Frank Bryce, the old Muggle caretaker from Riddle House, followed, his gardener's hands clenched in ghostly fists. And finally, the most wrenching, Harry's parents, Lily and James Potter, stepping forth from the wand's unwilling memory, their faces pale but defiant, love still burning in their spectral gaze. This is how Brother Wands force a regurgitation of the most recent spells cast, a magical backlash where the dominant core compels the other to vomit up its darkest deeds. It's as if the wand itself rebels, unable to contain the weight of so much malice when confronted by its twin. The U-Wand, loyal servant to the Dark Lord, shuddered under the assault, each echo emerging not as a full resurrection, but as a pale imprint, a reverse Avada Kedavra, in a way denying death's finality. The air grew thick with an otherworldly chill, the shadows whispering accusations that made Voldemort recoil, his new body suddenly feeling frail against this tide from his past. Those echoes of the dead revealed profound truths about the soul. Shadows that weren't mere illusions, but fragments clinging to the wand's core. After the curse had torn life away, Cedric's forms first. His voice, a hollow echo urging Harry to take his body in the cup, to fly away on the Portkeys pull. Bertha nodded silently, her presence a reminder of stolen secrets. Frank Bryce growled warnings of Voldemort's cruelty. But Lily and James, they lingered longest, their love a shield even in death. Lily's green eyes, so like Harry's, pleaded with him to keep fighting, while James coached him on the disarming charm, his voice steady. When the connection breaks, you'll have about 30 seconds. Run. These weren't ghosts, not truly. They were the soul's residue, the essence that Avada Kedavra couldn't fully erase, proving that even the unforgivable couldn't sever every tie. The wand held them, an unwilling archive of Voldemort's sins, their semi-corporeal forms glowing against the tombstones, stirring the mist into swirling patterns that danced like vengeful spirits. Voldemort snarled commands at his Death Eaters, who had only just apparated into the chaos, their masks gleaming under the moonlight. Bellatrix cackled madly, urging more curses, but the golden dome of light held firm, a cage trapping master and foe. Harry's scar burned like fire, pain lancing through his skull as Voldemort poured his will into breaking the link, but the echoes bolstered him. Cedric's shadow bowed low. Bertha faded with a nod. Frank vanished in scorn, and then James and Lily embraced Harry one last time, their touch a cool whisper on his skin before dissolving into sparks. With a final surge, Harry twisted his wand, shattering the connection. The Priori Incantatem faded, leaving Voldemort stunned, his wand smoking faintly. Harry grabbed Cedric's arm, and the cup, the portkey activating in a hook behind his navel, yanking him away as green light scorched the air where he'd stood. Back at Hogwarts, the Echo's words echoed in his mind, a lifeline from the grave. This wand's memory, born of brother cause in that fateful duel, exposed the fragility lurking beneath Voldemort's power, a counter to his forbidden arsenal that even he couldn't foresee, and it all spiraled toward darker heights. In Chapter 17, The Astronomy Tower, a study in execution, where loyalties shatter and a single curse changes everything forever. From the spectral echoes spat back by those brother wands in the Little Hangleton graveyard, where Voldemort's recent murders materialized as golden threads of resistance, we leap forward 3 years to the jagged silhouette of Hogwarts Astronomy Tower under a starless sky. It's June of 1997, and the air hangs thick with the metallic tang of impending storm. The castle below shrouded in unnatural silence, broken only by distant shouts. Up there, on that highest perch, Severus Snape stands poised at the fulcrum of destiny, his wand steady as he unleashes the killing curse on Albus Dumbledore. Picture the scene unfolding in excruciating precision. Dumbledore, weakened by a cursed necklace's lingering poison that gnaws at his hand like invisible acid, leans frail against the battlements. Draco Malfoy, wand trembling in his grip, has disarmed the headmaster but falters at the brink of fratricide, his task from the Dark Lord to kill or be killed, paralysed by a boy's unravelling nerve. Enter Snape, black robes billowing like raven wings in the wind, his face a mask of shadowed resolve. He strides forward, eyes locking with Dumbledore's in a gaze that conveys volumes unspoken. No cry of hatred, no snarled incantation tearing from his throat. Just a swift, deliberate flick of his wand, and the words emerge cold and clear. Avada Kedavra. That green bolt erupts, a vivid flash slicing the night like fractured emerald lightning, hurtling unerring toward its target. It strikes Dumbledore square in the chest, and in that instant life ceases. No convulsion, no lingering gasp, just the profound stillness of organs halting in perfect synchrony, the body crumpling lifeless to the stone floor as if a switch flipped off. The curse leaves no wound, no scorch mark, only the faint ozone scent of raw magic dissipating into the chill air. Ministry wizards would later detect its signature through Priori Incantato, traces on the wand, that telltale green afterglow confirming the unforgivable's use. But here in the tower's isolation, it's pure execution, wand line dead center, incantation crisp without flourish, propelled by intent so focused it brooks no deviation. Snape's mastery ensures the bolt doesn't veer, doesn't weaken, its textbook lethality, owned by years in the shadows. Yet this wasn't malice-fueled slaughter, it was a mercy kill, orchestrated in secrecy between the two men who knew the prophecy's cruel math. Dumbledore, body failing from the Horcrux hunt's toll, faced a slow poison devouring him from within, or worse, capture and interrogation by Voldemort's forces. Snape's vow to Narcissa Malfoy bound him to complete Draco's mission if the boy failed, but beneath that oath lay Dumbledore's plea. End it swiftly, spare the child a soul-scarring sin, preserve the greater plan. This consent, this mutual pact, reshaped the curse's toll on Snape's already fractured spirit. In the wizarding world's grim metaphysics, willful murder rends the soul like shattered glass, inviting Horcruxes or madness. But a mercy kill, its euthanasia veiled in green light, relieving suffering at the behest of the victim, untainted by sadism or conquest. Snape doesn't revel in power, he fulfills debt of love, his unrequited vow to Lily Evans echoing in every heartbeat. The spell darkens him, yes, brands him traitor in Harry's eyes, but it doesn't splinter his core the way Bellatrix's gleeful Cruciatuses do. Instead, it forges him into the ultimate double agent, his soul bent but unbroken, carrying the weight as a shield against true damnation. Chaos erupts in the aftermath, a maelstrom of ricocheting curses that underscores dark magic's peril when precision falters. Death Eaters swarm the tower, wands blazing in the frenzy. Amid the pandemonium, Thorfinn Roll, hulking and wild-eyed, hurls an Avada Kedavra meant to fell a fleeing Order member, but panic twists its path. The bolt veers wildly, slamming into Gibbon, his fellow Death Eater masked in the gloom. Gibbon crumples mid-stride, dead before he hits the ground, collateral in the fog of battle. Non-targeted dark magic thrives on this volatility, its raw, killing force indifferent to or foe once loosed. No finite incantation to recall it, no counter possible against the instant finality. Spells crisscross like green comets, shattering parapets, igniting robes in unnatural flames. As Harry Potter watches from below, frozen in disbelief, the tower becomes a crucible of misfired intent, where loyalty dissolves in screams and the acrid smoke of unintended graves. Snape sweeps down through the castle's halls, barking orders to retreat, his composure a thin veneer over the storm within. Harry's pursuit ends in a desperate Sectum Sempra slash, but Snape deflects it effortlessly, vanishing into the night on Draco's coattails. That single curse on the tower's crown ripples outward, unleashing the hunt for Horcruxes, fracturing alliances, sealing Snape's path to redemption. The killing curse, stripped bare in its mechanical purity, reveals its dual edge. Destroyer of worlds, yet in rare hands, a reluctant deliverer. As the echoes of those shouted incantations fade into Hogwarts stones, we turn next to non-verbal darkness. The silent killers, where spells whisper death without a sound, slipping past defenses like shadows in the night. You won't want to miss how they redefine the art of unseen assassination. Snape's killing curse pierced the Astronomy Tower's silence. Those three unmistakable words. A mercy that scarred his soul, even as it spared Dumbledore prolonged suffering. But what if that same curse, or any forbidden spell, would strike without a whisper, without the giveaway incantation that betrays the caster's intent? In the hands of true dark arts masters, silence transformed execution into an art of invisibility, turning the wizarding world's most lethal magic into shadows that slipped past every defense. Non-verbal casting demands a wizard pour their entire will into the wand, bypassing the crutch of spoken words that lessers rely on. For forbidden spells like the Unforgivables, this elevates danger to another realm. Picture the tactical advantage of unleashing Avada Kedavra, Crucio, or Imperio without a sound. No verbal cue for the victim to brace, dodge, or counter. In the chaos of battle, a spoken curse rings out like a battle cry, alerting everyone within earshot to summon Protego or dive for cover. Silent magic. It lands before the mind even registers the threat. The green flash, or wrenching agony erupting from nowhere. Voldemort's inner circle perfected this, wielding death and domination as if exhaling breath. No one embodied this silent lethality quite like Bellatrix Lestrange, whose mastery of silent execution made her a whirlwind of undetectable terror. Fresh from Azkaban in 1995, her loyalty to the Dark Lord, reborn in Little Hangleton, burned hotter than fiend fire. As Death Eaters revelled in their master's return, a fox darted through the graveyard underbrush, its eyes catching the moonlight. Without a murmur, without so much as a flick of her wild black hair, Bellatrix levelled her wand. A vivid green bolt lanced silently from the tip, striking the creature mid-stride. It crumpled lifeless, organs stilled in an instant. No twitch, no struggle, just gone. That casual display chilled even her comrades, a reminder that her wand spoke only in light and pain, never words. She honed this skill through years of Cruciatus practice, on muggles and auras alike, her lips sealed during the Longbottom's torture in 1981, driving them to madness without utterance. By the time she faced Harry in the Ministry atrium, her non-verbal curses flew like vipers, forcing him to improvise defenses against an onslaught he couldn't predict. This silence isn't mere showmanship, it's a fortress. Non-verbal dark magic proves significantly harder to detect and deflect, because it strips away the auditory signature that defines most spellwork. Auras trained to listen for the killing curse's hiss, the Crucio's sharp plea, the Imperio's silky command, incantations that vibrate the air, traceable by spells like Priori Incantatem or simple Hominum Revelio echoes. Without them, the magic manifests purely from intent, cloaked in the caster's focus. Deflectors falter, a non-verbal Avada Kedavra doesn't announce its path, slipping through shield charms raised too late. Wizards like Dumbledore could sense intent through legilimency, but against Bellatrix's frenzy or Voldemort's precision, even he struggled. Recall how her silent Crucio shredded Hermione's defenses in Malfoy Manor, the girl writhing before anyone could react. The Ministry's magical forensics hunt verbal residues in victims' wounds, green afterglows tied to spoken malice, but silent casts leave voids, nearly impossible to prosecute without witnesses. Delve deeper into the mechanics, and the peril sharpens. Verbal spells channel power through phonetics, ancient syllables amplifying will, like Avada Kedavra's Aramaic roots twisting life into nothingness. Non-verbal demands raw concentration, the mind's eye visualizing the curse's form. The Sectum Sempra, invisible blades carving flesh, or Fiend Fire, Infernus birthed from fury alone. Young wizards at Hogwarts fumble basics silently, but forbidden arts corrupt the soul faster without words as a buffer. Intent unfiltered, malice undiluted. Bellatrix thrived here, her sanity fractured yet her control ironclad, cursing foes in duels where lips stayed shut, eyes blazing. During the Battle of Hogwarts, imagine her silent Imperial bending minds amid the screams, slaves rising unseen until they struck. This evolution traces back to the Middle Ages, when Unforgivables first slithered from dark tomes. By 1717, the Ministry branded them unforgivable, but verbal use made them trackable, until prodigies like Grindelwald and later Voldemort pushed boundaries. Sam Bakar wielded a verbal Avada Kedavra on Isidora Morgaraku in the 1890s, but by Voldemort's era, silence ruled his elite. Harry's own brushes taught him this bitterly. His failed verbal Crucio on Bellatrix in 1996 rebounded because she anticipated. Only rage-fueled silence let him succeed on Amicus Caro in 1998, the slime writhing undetected until too late. The fox's death lingers as Bellatrix's signature, a rural pest turned testament, its body cooling in the graveyard dirt while she laughed, wand still smoking faintly. That moment foreshadowed her reign of quiet carnage, from Gringotts heists, where silent curses felled goblins, to the Astronomy Tower's fringes, where non-verbal shadows danced. Even Snape, verbal in his mercy, paled against her. His words carried doubt, hers pure venom, yet silence breeds its own vulnerabilities. Overeliance snaps the mind, as when Thief's downfall washed Harry's Imperio off Bogrod in 1998. Intent too fragile without reinforcement. Still, for Death Eaters, the edge was unmatched, turning battlefields into graveyards of the unprepared. As we peel back these layers of unseen horror, you'll soon see how the wizarding world's safeguards twist into something far more contradictory. What if the very lessons designed to shield you from this darkness only invite it closer? That's the riddle at the heart of our next chapter, the defense against the dark arts paradox. Stick around, because it flips everything you thought you knew. Silent curses like the one Bellatrix unleashed on that fox vanish into the air without a trace, leaving only the echo of death. But what if those same forbidden spells weren't hidden in shadows, but taught openly in the halls of Hogwarts? The defense against the dark arts class sat at the heart of this tension, a place meant to arm students against the very magic that could corrupt them. From the moment you step into that classroom, the air thickens with unspoken risk. Professors come and go, cursed by Voldemort's jinx to never last more than a year, each one wrestling with how deeply to delve into the darkness. You learn the unforgivables not to wield them, but to recognize their flicker, the green flash of Avada Kedavra, the writhing agony of Crucio, the puppet strings of Imperio. Yet every incantation whispered in practice blurs that boundary, planting seeds of power that whisper, why defend when you could dominate? Take 1994, the Triwizard Tournament year, when Alastor Moody, or rather, Barty Crouch Jr. in disguise, turned the lesson into something visceral. He didn't just lecture on Imperio, he cast it. One by one, students felt their minds bend, their wills dissolve into obedience. Harry's body moved against his thoughts, compelled to jump, to act without choice, the classroom spinning into a haze of violation. Trauma as a teaching tool, raw and unforgettable, searing the curse's horror into memory. You could hear the gasps, feel the sweat on your brow as control slipped away, only to snap back with a shudder. It worked, none forgot the imperious grip, but at what cost? That demonstration lingered, a shadow over every spell practiced after. This paradox deepened under Voldemort's shadow. By 1997, with Death Eaters in power, the curriculum twisted completely. The defense against the dark arts title vanished, replaced by dark arts outright, taught by Amicus and Electo Caro. No more shielding charms or counter curses. Students learned to hurl Crucio at classmates, to practice the killing curse on the unwilling. The fine line between knowing these curses to defend against them and being tempted to use them dissolved entirely. Muggle-born suffered first, writhing under student wands forced to comply, the classroom reeking of fear and scorched stone. Harry rallied the DA in secret, reclaiming the room of requirement for true defense. But the official halls echoed with screams now, turning protectors into perpetrators. Sectum Sempra embodied this temptation perfectly. Harry stumbled on it in the Half-Blood Prince's book, slashes opening without a blade, blood pooling thick and dark on the bathroom floor as Draco crumpled. Meant for enemies, it promised swift retribution, but left only gore and regret. Snape's creation as a teen mirrored the student's own rage. Learn the dark arts to fight them, only to find your hand itching for the page. Fiendfire loomed even larger in warnings, flames that devoured Horcruxes but turned on the caster. A black inferno roaring through stone corridors if unleashed. Dumbledore banned its study for good reason. One slip, and Hogwarts itself would burn. Even protective spells warped under this lens. Protego Diabolica ringed loyalties in fire, burning the unfaithful while shielding the sworn. Imagine the crackle as it judged, flesh charring in an instant. Unbreakable vows bound fates tighter, death awaiting any breach, as Snape learned in his promise to Narcissa. These weren't just spells, they reshaped souls, pulling wizards toward Voldemort's creed of power unbound by mercy. Harry walked this edge repeatedly, his failed Crucio on Bellatrix after Sirius fell. Rage fueling the words, but no true will to torture, showed the barrier holding. Yet on Amicus Caro, spit-flecked and furious before the Battle of Hogwarts, it landed, the Caro convulsing in agony. Imperio bent Travers and Bogrod in Gringotts, Harry's mind overriding theirs amid clattering goblin alarms. Each success chipped at his restraint, the thrill of control too close to the Dark Lord's own. Priori Incantatem offered a counterpoint, wands locking to regurgitate echoes, golden threads pulling ghosts from Voldemort's wand in that graveyard, Cedric's shade pleading. It revealed the curse's trail, but only if brother cause met. Still the classroom paradox persisted, knowledge as shield or sword. As the Caro's regime peaked, Hogwarts became a forge for dark wizards, students' eyes hardening with each practiced unforgivable. The temptation spread like fiend fire, unstoppable once lit. But whispers of resistance grew, pointing toward older horrors buried deeper in magic's past. Next in Chapter 20, Ancient Necromancy and the Inferi will unearth the rotting legions Voldemort commanded, spells that twist death into servitude. Imagine hordes rising from black waters, hungry for the living. You won't want to miss how these undead horrors nearly turned the tide. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. While the Caro's twisted defense against the dark arts into a classroom of raw cruelty, forcing students to practice curses under threat of pain, and Barty Crouch Jr. scarred a generation with his 1994 demonstrations of Imperio's grip. Those horrors pale against the oldest taboo in wizarding magic, necromancy. This ancient practice doesn't just end life or bend wills. It drags the dead back from their rest, twisting corpses into eternal servitude. Necromancy traces its roots to forgotten grimoires hidden in the deepest library vaults. Spells chanted over fresh graves under blood moons, where wizards bartered with shadows for power over mortality. Unlike the clean flash of Avada Kedavra, which snaps the thread of life in an instant. Organs stilling, breath fleeing without a mark, necromancy violates the natural order twice over. The killing curse respects death's finality. It releases the soul to whatever lies beyond. But raising the dead, that chains the husk, stripping away any remnant of will or peace, forcing it to shamble as a puppet. Wizards through the ages called it unnatural, not for the killing, but for the desecration. The endless mockery of life's cycle, where bodies rot but never truly rest. Even the most hardened dark mages felt a chill, sensing how it eroded their own humanity, one reanimated corpse at a time. Voldemort mastered this forbidden craft early, honing it in hidden lairs where the air hung thick with decay. He didn't stop at theory. He built armies from the forgotten. Picture the ritual. A circle of blackened stone, incantations in a tongue older than Hogwarts, drawing dark energy from sacrificial murders to bind life force to lifeless flesh. The creation of the Inferi reanimates the dead as mindless, fire-fearing guardians, their skin grey and waterlogged, eyes vacant pits glowing faintly with cursed light. These aren't ghosts or spirits. They're puppets of putrefaction, stronger than living men, relentless in their hunger to drag victims down. Fire alone scatters them, their sodden forms igniting in screams of unnatural flame. A weakness born from the lake water preservation Voldemort favoured. He deployed them masterfully in that submerged cavern off the British coast. A place he'd haunted since childhood, a dripping underworld of jagged rock and echoing waves. The lake there became his masterpiece of terror. Hundreds of Inferi suspended in the inky depths, preserved by enchantments that kept decay at bay. Any intruder, ministry auror, rival dark wizard, or foolhardy thief, would disturb the surface, and up they'd surge, pale hands clawing from the murk, pulling the living under to join them. It wasn't just physical menace. The sight alone broke spirits, the psychological weight of staring into those empty faces, knowing your own might soon bob among them. Voldemort booby-trapped his locket Horcrux there, layering deterrence on deterrence. The potion of despair to weaken the mind, the chain to bind the body. and the Inferi horde as the final, drowning judgment. Dumbledore himself navigated that nightmare in 1997, torch in hand to hold back the tide of grasping dead, their moans bubbling up like accusations from the abyss. The old wizard's flames lit the water in bursts of orange defiance, revealing the sheer scale. Bodies twisted in eternal agony, wards pulsing with Voldemort's malice. Necromancy's curse amplified here. The Inferi didn't tire, didn't feel cold or pain beyond their fiery bane, making escape a frenzy of light and screams. Voldemort revelled in this perversion, his lake a mirror to his soul, cold, bottomless, teeming with the undead remnants of his conquests. This craft's allure tempted even the pure-blood elite, promising guardians immune to betrayal or fatigue. Yet it always exacted a toll, whispers of the caster's own life force bleeding away, shadows lingering in their eyes. Voldemort wielded it sparingly, reserving the Inferi for vaults where subtlety failed, but its shadow loomed over his entire reign. As we turn to Chapter 21, the Malfoy Mandate. Pressure and failure. You'll see how even the Dark Lord's inner circle cracked under demands that made necromancy seem tame. What unbreakable promises and impossible tasks nearly shattered the Malfoy name forever. Voldemort's cave, with its army of Inferi lurking beneath the inky water, stood as a testament to his unchallenged command over death itself, a barrier no living soul could breach without his say. But across the wizarding world, in the shadowed corridors of Hogwarts, another servant grappled with a mandate far beyond his grasp, one that exposed the raw fragility of the unforgivable curses. Draco Malfoy, barely 16, carried the weight of the Dark Lord's expectations like a noose tightening around his neck. Voldemort had tasked him with assassinating Albus Dumbledore, a mission whispered in the cold halls of Malfoy Manor, sealed by the unbreakable vow that bound Snape as his reluctant failsafe. Draco's descent into darkness began subtly, tampering with cursed objects and weaving plots through the castle's veins, but it culminated in a moment of shattering desperation on the 5th floor bathroom floor. There, amid the shattered porcelain sinks and the acrid steam rising from burst pipes, Draco cornered Harry Potter. His wand trembled in his pale hand, the air thick with the metallic tang of blood from his own gashed arm. Sectum Semper's vicious legacy still weeping crimson. He spat the words, Crucio, his voice cracking like thin ice, willing the Cruciatus curse to bend Harry to unimaginable agony. But nothing happened. No red flash erupted, no screams tore from Harry's throat. Draco tried again, fury twisting his sharp features, pouring every ounce of his hatred, the sneers in the Great Hall, the Quidditch humiliations, the endless shadow of Potter's fame, into the incantation. Still, silence. The spell fizzled, mocking his impotence. The Cruciatus curse demands more than words or intent. It requires a sadist's soul, a genuine thirst to inflict pain that consumes the caster as much as the victim. Draco couldn't mean it enough. Deep down beneath the pure-blood arrogance and the venomous upbringing, a flicker of uncertainty lingered. A boy's hesitation, warped by fear for his family rather than true malice. Voldemort's elite wielded it effortlessly, like Bellatrix, whose repeated Crucios had shattered the Longbottom's minds into eternal madness back in 1981. Harry himself would fail at it twice, before mastering it in rage against Amicus Caro. But Draco, his heart wasn't forged in that fire. The spell sensed the fracture, the lack of unwavering cruelty, and refused to ignite. Pressure mounted as Draco's failures piled up. The poisoned mead that felled Ron Weasley instead, the necklace that cursed Katie Bell into a twitching ruin. Survival narrowed his world to a pinhole. In Hogsmeade, under the Imperia's curse's thrall, no, wielding it himself, he bent Madame Rosmerta to his will. His voice, laced with desperation, forced the Imperio upon her, turning the kindly innkeeper into a puppet delivering death's gift to Dumbledore. Rosmerta's eyes glazed over, her free will drowned in the curse's silken command, as she passed the opal necklace with its strangling curse to unwitting hands. Draco had sidestepped his own weakness here. Imperio didn't demand hatred, only dominance. and in his cornered panic, he seized it like a lifeline. This act, born of pure survival instinct, revealed the curse's cruel hierarchy. While Cruciatus eluded him, Imperio flowed when stakes turned lethal. Much like Harry's own reluctant use on Gringotts goblins amid the thief's downfall chaos, Draco's mandate crumbled under its own weight, paving the way for Snape's fatal intervention on the Astronomy Tower. Yet in that bathroom standoff, we glimpse the human cost of forbidden magic. Not just the victim's screams, but the caster's unravelling psyche, the spells that judge the soul before they strike. The Malfoy legacy of pressure and failure echoes through objects laced with even deadlier intent, waiting in the shadows of cursed heirlooms and hidden vaults. Up next, Chapter 22, Cursed Objects. The secondary forbidden magic uncovers how these silent killers ensnared souls without a wand's flick. What dark enchantments turned trinkets into traps no unforgivable could rival. Draco Malfoy stood in that damp Hogwarts bathroom, wand trembling, the Cruciatus curse fizzling on his lips, because deep down, he couldn't summon the malice it demanded. But Voldemort's orders didn't vanish with his failure. Pushed to the brink, Draco turned to something far subtler, deadlier in its patience. Cursed objects, vessels that carried forbidden magic without a wizard ever lifting a wand in the moment of attack. These weren't crude hexes cast in the heat of battle. They were the secondary forbidden magic, dark enchantments woven into everyday things, lying dormant until touched or triggered. Picture a necklace glinting innocently in a shop window, or a battered old cabinet gathering dust in a classroom. To the untrained eye, harmless antiques, but infused with curses, they became weapons of indirect assassination, sidestepping the direct fury of spells like Avada Kedavra. Take the opal necklace, that poisoned jewel from Borgin and Burke's. Draco slipped into the shadowy Nocturne Alley shop. One crisp autumn day in 1996, his face pale under the hood, negotiating with the sly Mr. Borgin. The necklace, a choker of iridescent opal, had already claimed lives 6 Muggle owners before it found its way back to the shop, each dying in agony from a curse that seeped into their veins like venom. Borgin cursed it anew at Draco's behest, binding it with a lethal hex that activated on skin contact, strangling the life from the wearer with invisible tendrils of dark magic. No incantation needed, no wand flourish, just touch it, and it killed. Draco smuggled it into Hogwarts, his hands slick with sweat as he planted it in a package meant for Harry Potter. Katie Bell, innocent Quidditch chaser, grabbed it first during a Hogsmeade trip, her fingers brushing the stone. She convulsed mid-air, screaming as the curse clawed into her body, lifting her toward the castle's ceiling like a puppet on strings. Only swift intervention by Hagrid saved her, but the damage lingered. Wigs insane, Mungo's, her skin pallid, her spirit fractured. Draco watched from afar, heart pounding, knowing he'd evaded detection, because the curse wasn't cast in that moment. It had been stored, bottled like a potion of death. That's the genius of these cursed objects. Dark magic stored within them to bypass ministry detection. The Department of Magical Law Enforcement scans for the residual signatures of forbidden spells, the green flash of Avada Kedavra, the psychic echo of Imperio. But when the magic is embedded in an item, passed hand to hand like contraband, it slumbers quietly. No aurora priori incantato pulls the truth from a necklace or cabinet. The trace fades into the object's history, disguised as antique charm or family heirloom. Wizards like Draco could wield annihilation without the immediate backlash, the magic activating autonomously, clean and untraceable. And then there was the vanishing cabinet, Draco's masterpiece of malice. Tucked away in the Room of Requirement, it paired with its twin at Malfoy Manor. A portal cracked open through weeks of frantic repair. Draco vanished small objects first, a beetle, then a bird, testing the twins' echo until the connection hummed to life. No spell hurled at a victim, instead an invasion. Death Eaters poured through on that fateful June night in 1997. Fenrir, Greyback's fangs bared, the Carrow's wands crackling, all to corner Dumbledore atop the Astronomy Tower. Indirect assassination at its pinnacle. The cabinet didn't kill, but it unleashed the killers, turning Hogwarts' own walls against its defenders. These weren't Voldemort's inventions, though he exploited them masterfully. The art stretched back centuries, whispered in dusty tomes of the restricted section. Wizards learned to infuse objects with curses during the Goblin Rebellions, when stealth mattered more than spectacle. A goblin chieftain's sword that withered the wielder's arm, or a chalice that induced madness with a sip. But Voldemort elevated it, demanding his followers master this shadowcraft. Draco, cornered by his father's imprisonment, poured his desperation into that cabinet, filing away at its vanishing powder innards under the room's endless supplies, his eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. Success meant survival, failure the Dark Lord's wrath. Yet even these vessels carried risks for the handler. Dumbledore knew this intimately when he tracked down Marvolo Gaunt's ring, that gnarled gold band etched with the Peveril coat of arms, hidden in a ruined shack amid Little Hangleton's overgrown fields. The ring screamed Horcrux, a splinter of Riddle's soul pulsing within. Dumbledore donned it briefly, tempted by the Resurrection Stone's promise, and the lingering curse struck like black fire. It raced up his arm, blackening flesh to char, veins bulging like roots under scorched skin. The headmaster destroyed the Horcrux with the sword of Gryffindor, but the curse burrowed deep, a slow poison eroding his hand, then his life force. Snape's potions slowed it to months, not days, but you could see the rot spreading in quiet moments. The withered fingers trembling over a phoenix feather, the pain he masked behind twinkling eyes. That curse exemplified the peril of tampering with objects. The magic didn't dissipate with the soul fragment. It lingered, vengeful, designed to punish the thief. Gaunt had worn it proudly, bragging of Salazar Slytherin's lineage, but Tom Riddle turned it into a tomb for his immortality. Dumbledore's sacrifice, his hand, his time, bought Harry the chance to unravel the rest. Feel the weight of that. A ring no bigger than a knuckle, holding enough malice to fell the greatest wizard alive. Cursed objects blurred the line between spell and artifact, making forbidden magic portable, deniable. They tempted the weak-willed, like Draco, with power minus the personal stain on the soul. No need to voice Crucio or mean it. Just handle the thing and let it do the work. The Ministry struggled to regulate them. How do you detect a curse in heirlooms, traded at estate sales? Raids on Borgin and Burke's turned up troves, but the clever ones slipped through, waiting for the right foolhardy hand. As the war escalated, these tools multiplied. Death Eaters seeded them in pure blood homes, disguised as gifts. Imagine unwrapping a brooch from a distant cousin, only for it to sear your heart silent. Voldemort hoarded them in his vaults, backups to his wand work, but their true horror lay in the patience. The curse might sleep for years, outliving its creator. You'll want to stick around for what's next. Chapter 23, The Battle of Hogwarts, Unleashed Malice, where these shadows erupt into full chaos, curses flying without restraint as the castle falls. Those cursed objects like the opal necklace and vanishing cabinet represented the Death Eaters' cunning subtlety, embedding malice in everyday items to evade the Ministry's watchful eyes. But as the Battle of Hogwarts erupted in 1998, that era of hidden treachery shattered. Forbidden spells, once whispered crimes punishable by Azkaban's endless chill, exploded into the open air, no longer skulking in shadows but blazing across the castle grounds as the raw currency of survival. The night sky over Hogwarts fractured under a storm of spells, the air thick with the acrid tang of scorched stone and the metallic bite of blood. Voldemort's forces poured through the breached walls, their wands unleashing a torrent that turned the sacred halls into a slaughterhouse. What had been outlawed as the pinnacle of depravity, the unforgivable curses, now blurred into the desperate rhythm of combat. Avada Kedavra's green jets streaked like venomous comets, no longer isolated atrocities, but the grim equalizer in a war where hesitation meant death. Death Eaters hurled them without restraint, and even the defenders, backed into corridors slick with debris, began to mirror that ruthlessness. You can feel the shift in the castle's very stones, vibrating with the forbidden. Sectum Sempra sliced through the fray, invented by a teenage Snape as a brutal for enemies / now ripping flesh amid the chaos. Fiendfire roared from desperate corners, those cursed flames devouring Horcrux-proof barriers and friend alike. Their black smoke choking the Great Hall, and Protego Diabolica flickered in defensive rings, dark fire that scorched the unworthy, warping loyalties into lethal judgments. The line between criminal act and battlefield necessity dissolved. What the Ministry had branded unforgivable in 1717 became the blunt tool clutched by witches and wizards on both sides, their incantations a chorus of moral surrender. Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger's reluctant use of darker magic in the heat of battle marked that tipping point for the light side. Picture Ron, face smeared with soot, cornered in the castle's crumbling tunnels, his wand trembling as he faced a snarling Death Eater. The air hummed with curses, and in that split second, survival demanded more than stupefy or Expelliarmus. He spat the words for Crucio, the Cruciatus curse, pouring his fury, the raw ache of lost friends, the betrayal of a world unraveling, into the spell. It connected, the enemy writhing in agony, bones twisting under invisible torment, just as Bellatrix had once done to the Longbottoms. Ron's eyes widened in horror at his own power, the curse's demand for true malice met by the war's erosion of his innocence. Hermione, ever the rational anchor, crossed her own threshold nearby, her precise mind calculating the cost as she dueled amid falling rafters. Against a hulking foe impervious to her shields, she channeled Sectum Sempra, the gashes erupting like spectral blades, blood spraying across her robes. She whispered the counter later to Madame Pomfrey, but in the moment doubt fled. The spell's vicious efficiency saved her life, echoing Harry's own near-fatal use on Draco. These weren't gleeful indulgences like Voldemort's theatrical kills, were reluctant salvos, born from the siege's unrelenting pressure, where the dark art's allure whispered that purity alone couldn't prevail. Then came the sheer volume of green light, the visual representation of the wizarding world's collapse. Wave after wave of Avada Kedavra lit the night, not in isolated flashes, but a relentless aurora of death. Hundreds streaking from Death Eater ranks, painting the battlements in sickly emerald. Cedric Diggory's fate in the graveyard paled against this. Here, green bolts arsed like a poisoned aurora borealis, bodies crumpling in the courtyard, the forbidden forest's edge. Even the lake shore, wherein Ferry clawed upward, Ministry forensics would later trace the carnage, those telltale residues lingering like ghosts. But in the melee, the sky pulsed with it, each jet a nail in the coffin of the old order. Victims dropped mid-stride, professors, students, house elves, their lives snuffed without trace, organs stilled by the curse's merciless precision. Voldemort himself orchestrated the crescendo from the ramparts, his wand a conductor's baton for annihilation. Green light blooming in symphony with his laughter. Snape's earlier Avada Kedavra on Dumbledore, Tyson shadowed, felt quaint now. Thorfinn Roll's accidental kill during the Astronomy Tower skirmish was a mere prelude. Even Harry's successes with Imperio at Gringotts seemed tactical footnotes amid this apocalypse. The castle groaned under the onslaught, stained glass shattering as curses rebounded, the air electric with the curse's backlash. Priori Incantatem echoes faintly reversing a few, but overwhelmed by the flood. As the dust settled amid rubble and echoes, the true horror lingered not just in the fallen, but in how freely the forbidden had flowed. Ron and Hermione, haunted by their own casts, embodied the war's poison seeping into the pure. That green deluge didn't just claim lives, it signaled the wizarding world's moral foundations cracking, where tomorrow's victors would reckon with the stains on their souls. But how did the Ministry ever piece together the slaughter after such chaos? Up next, magical forensics. Tracking the untraceable reveals the hidden science that caught even the slipperiest curses. Methods so ingenious, you'll wonder why no one evaded them entirely. As the echoes of the Battle of Hogwarts faded, with Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger stepping into the shadows of spells they'd sworn never to touch, the Ministry of Magic had descended on the rubble-strewn grounds. Auras, in tattered robes, sifted through the debris, their wands glowing faintly under the dawn sky, hunting for traces of the forbidden magic that had turned hallowed halls into a slaughterhouse. But how do you track curses that kill without a mark, or commands that bend minds like reeds in the wind? In the wizarding world, even the most elusive dark arts leave whispers behind. Caught by spells designed to unravel the untraceable, the Ministry's trace, that invisible web spun across Britain, hums with quiet vigilance. It latches onto every spark of magic from witches and wizards under 17, pinpointing underage spells the moment they flare, whether a cheeky Leviosa in a muggle park or a desperate Protego in a hidden alley, enchanted into the very air by unspeakables deep in the Department of Mysteries. It sends an alert straight to the improper use of magic office, where quills scratch out violation reports before the smoke clears. Yet for all its reach, the trace falters against the full fury of dark magic. Masterful casters like Voldemort weave around it effortlessly, their power too vast and deliberate, masked by layers of occlumency, or ancient wards that scatter the signature like ash on the breeze. And in the heat of war, when spells fly from every wand, good, bad, or blurred, the trace drowns in the cacophony, unable to distinguish a cruciatus from a stunner amid the storm. Picture an Auror kneeling beside a body in the forbidden forest, the air still thick with the scent of scorched earth from an Avada Kedavra. No blood, no wound, just a life snuffed out, organs frozen in their final beat. The trace might have caught the initial pulse, but it offers no proof, no echo of intent. That's where true magical forensics steps in. Tools forged not just to detect, but to accuse. Enter the Prior Incantato charm, a sly incantation that forces a wand to betray its secrets. Whisper it with a flick, Prior Incantato, and the wood trembles, exhaling ghostly smoke in the shape of the last spell it unleashed. A jet of green light might coil from the tip, replaying the killing curse in miniature, or spectral screams twist the air from a recent cruciatus. Auras used it relentlessly after the Battle of Hogwarts, extracting confessions from captured Death Eaters' wands, watching Sectum Sempra's invisible blades slash phantom air or Imperio's haze, puppeteer an illusory victim. Dumbledore himself wielded it once, in the dim glow of his office, to reveal the opal necklace's curse lurking in Draco Malfoy's confiscated wand, a chain of smoky tendrils proving the boy's hand in the plot. But Prior Incantato isn't flawless. It only echoes the most recent incantation, and a quick Scourgify or Reparo can muddle the trail. Wily criminals vanish their wands into thin air or borrow another, leaving Aurors with smoke but no source. Still, in the hands of a skilled investigator like Mad-Eye Moody, it turns battlefields into courtrooms, wands into witnesses that cannot lie. Deeper still lies the residue of true dark magic, that insidious stain no finite incantatum can fully erase. Certain forbidden spells, Avada Kedavra chief among them, etch themselves into the world like acid on parchment, lingering for decades in the ether. Why? Because they draw from the caster's very malice, a venomous intent that corrupts the magical fabric around it. The killing curse, born in the shadowed Middle Ages, doesn't just end life. It ruptures the soul's tether to the body, spraying fragments of raw dark energy that cling to stone, soil, even the victim's final shadow. Ministry enforcers found such echoes in the Astronomy Tower, years after Snape's mercy stroke on Dumbledore, a faint green shimmer detectable only by specialized revealing charms. Bellatrix Lestrange's repeated cruciatus on the Longbottoms left a psychic scar in St. Mungo's ward, haunting healers with phantom screams well into the 1990s, residue so potent it warped diagnostic spells for a generation. San Bakar, that rogue keeper from the 1890s, learned this the hard way. His Avada Kedavra on Isidora Morgaraku seeped into Hogwarts stones, a detectable blight that cursed excavations until the 1990s. Fiendfire's unholy flames do worse. scorching reality itself, their embers trackable across continents as they devour Horcruxes or inferi alike. Even Voldemort's rebirth ritual in Little Hangleton Graveyard pulsed with necromantic residue, alerting seers to his return before his first public strike. This lingering mark is the dark art's curse on its user, proof eternal, turning hideouts into traps and wands into gravestones. You can almost feel it now. That chill as an auror traces a glowing rune over a suspect's sleeve, watching residue flare like guilt made visible. In the war's aftermath, these forensics piece together atrocities. Thor Finral's accidental kill during the Astronomy Tower skirmish, confirmed by his wand's smoky confession. Harry's own brush with Imperio on Bogrod in Gringotts, a secret buried, but theoretically uncoverable. Yet for every trace uncovered, shadows persist. Unbreakable vows that kill without a spell, Horcruxes hidden in plain sight. The Ministry sharpens its tools, but the dark leaves marks that time only deepens. And as we peel back these layers of detection, you start to wonder about the invisible toll on the caster themselves. The fractures no forensic charm can chart. Up next, Chapter 25. The Soul's Integrity, the Cost of Casting, reveals how every forbidden incantation chips away at what makes a wizard whole. Stick around, because once you glimpse that abyss, sleep might never feel quite the same, while the Ministry's prior incantato charm might reveal the ghostly echo of an unforgivable curse, lingering on a wand, pulling back those spectral wisps of green light or writhing agony. It uncovers only the surface of the crime, the true residue, the one no auror can detect. Settles deep within the caster's very essence, fracturing the soul in ways that linger far beyond any Azkaban cell. Dark magic, especially the unforgivables, doesn't just bend the laws of nature, it warps the fabric of who you are. When a wizard channels the imperious curse, forcing another's will to shatter like fragile glass under an unseen boot, that act echoes back, splintering the caster's own sense of self. The Cruciatus curse pours unrelenting torment into a body, but it carves similar rifts into the soul, leaving behind jagged edges that bleed magical essence over time. And Avada Kedavra, that flash of emerald death, severs life so cleanly it mirrors the tear it rips in the spirit. Permanent, unforgiving. Wizards who wield these spells repeatedly don't just risk madness or detection. They invite a slow unraveling, where empathy fades, rage festers, and the line between self and shadow blurs. Voldemort himself, master of them all, ended up a fractured wraith, his soul hacked into shards not just by Horcruxes, but by the constant invocation of curses that demanded hatred as fuel. Think of Bellatrix Lestrange, her eyes wild with glee as she twisted the Cruciatus on the Longbottoms back in 1981, driving them into the endless night of insanity. Each scream she elicited didn't just echo in their minds, it lodged in hers, hardening her into something less human, more beast. Or the Death Eaters at the Battle of Hogwarts, hurling Imperio like puppet strings, only to find their own wills eroding, puppets to the Dark Lord in turn. The metaphysical damage caused by using the unforgivables builds like a curse within a curse, subtle at first, a whisper of power's thrill, then a roar that drowns out remorse, twisting virtues into vices until the soul hangs in tatters, barely holding its form. Yet Harry Potter stands as the stark exception, a puzzle that even Dumbledore pondered in hushed tones by the headmaster's fireside. Harry cast the Imperious Curse twice during the Gringotts break-in in 1998, first on Travers to slip through the Goblin Guards, then reapplied on Bogrod after the thief's downfall washed it clean. Cold, calculated commands that bent minds without hesitation. And just before the Battle of Hogwarts, in the Corridor of Ravens, he unleashed a full Cruciatus on Amicus Carrow, the curse hitting true, racking the Carrow brother in spasms of pain as Harry spat his fury for what they'd done to McGonagall. These weren't fumbles like his earlier tries on Bellatrix or Snape. These worked, fueled by genuine rage and desperation. So why did Harry's soul remain whole despite his use of Imperio and Crucio? It came down to intent, not the black-hearted malice of a true dark wizard, but a desperate grasp for survival in a war where hesitation meant death for those he loved. Dumbledore hinted at this in their talks, explaining that Harry's acts were born of protection, not domination, lacking the willful embrace of cruelty that Voldemort craved. His soul, anchored by love and loyalty, those same forces that let him wield the Elder Wand, bent but never broke, resilient like Phoenix song piercing a Dementor's chill. This resilience ties into the deepest law of soul repair, a truth whispered only in the shadows of redemption. When dark magic fractures the spirit, no potion or charm can knit it back. The only path lies in remorse, true, gut-wrenching sorrow that forces the wizard to revisit the pain inflicted, willingly stepping into the abyss they've carved. It's said that for lesser dark acts, this voluntary plunge can mend the tears, like reliving the victim's torment until the soul's edges realign, glowing faintly with hard-won light. But for the deepest rifts from unforgivables, especially repeated ones, that remorse must be profound, almost self-destructive, or the fractures widen into oblivion. Draco Malfoy glimpsed this edge after his failed bathroom assault on Harry. His soul spared full ruin because he couldn't summon the hate, but even he carried the scars, a boy forever changed. Voldemort, devoid of any such regret, watched his fragments crumble one by one. Harry never needed that plunge. His wholeness preserved him through the killing curse's rebound, through basilisk venom and fiend fire's blaze. But for those who cross too far, the soul's toll demands payment in tears unshed by the merciless. That hidden knowledge, buried in tomes too perilous for open shelves, pulls us toward the restricted section's forbidden lore next. Secrets that could unravel even the strongest protections against such inner darkness. While Harry's soul held firm against the corrupting pull of Imperio and Crucio, the spells themselves didn't spring from thin air. They slithered out of ancient tomes, hidden in the shadows of Hogwarts' restricted section, where the most perilous knowledge waited like a serpent coiled in the dark. Picture the library's depths under Madame Pince's watchful eye, a labyrinth of towering shelves chained shut, accessible only by professor's note or special permission. Dust motes dance in the wandlight, as students like Harry sneak peeks, drawn by whispers of power too dangerous for young minds. At the heart of this forbidden vault lay books that didn't just teach magic. They tempted the soul with shortcuts to dominance. Take Secrets of the Darkest Art, a slim volume penned centuries ago by an anonymous hand, its pages yellowed and brittle, detailing the grisly rituals for splitting one's soul into Horcruxes. This wasn't idle theory. It outlined the murder required to rip the spirit apart, the vessels to hide those fragments in diary or locket, promising immortality at the cost of humanity. Hogwarts once shelved it openly, back when wizarding society grappled with the ethics of eternal life during turbulent times of war and plague. But by the 20th century, as the ministry cracked down on dark arts proliferation, headmasters like Armando Dippet ordered such texts purged. They vanished into locked cases or deeper vaults, deemed too inflammatory after waves of young witches and wizards experimented disastrously, their souls mangled beyond repair. Why the removal? Fear rippled through the faculty. Professors saw students' eyes glaze with obsession, mirroring the rise of Grindelwald's followers who devoured similar lore for their conquests. The book wasn't burned. That would erase history. Instead, it was restricted, labelled with curses that blistered curious fingers and triggered alarms echoing through the castle's stone corridors. Yet this very act of suppression planted seeds of rebellion. What child wouldn't crave the apple dangling just out of reach? That allure turned forbidden knowledge into a siren call, making the dark arts shimmer brighter in the forbidden glow. By hiding these texts, Hogwarts inadvertently romanticized them, transforming dry scholarship into mythical contraband. Whispers in the Gryffindor common room painted the restricted section as a treasure trove of Voldemort's secrets, not a warning. Suppression bred curiosity, fueling underground trades where older students smuggled photocopied pages, or brewed polyjuice to impersonate teachers for access. It's the classic paradox. The more you forbid, the more you desire, echoing through Muggle history with banned books that sparked revolutions. In the wizarding world, this backfired spectacularly, drawing impressionable minds like Tom Riddle straight to the shelves, where he first tasted the nectar of soul-splitting. Riddle, that future Dark Lord, prowled those aisles as a prefect, his pale fingers tracing spines that promised godhood. He didn't need permission slips. His charm and intellect unlocked doors. But not every seeker had his cunning. Enter the everyday accidents of discovery, like the tattered potions textbook Harry Potter, unearthed in his 5th year. Its margins alive with the scrawls of the Half-Blood Prince. Those notes, etched by a teenage Severus Snape, weren't from the restricted section proper, but they bridged the gap, democratizing magic that should have stayed elite. Sectum Sempra, labeled simply, for enemies, slashed with invisible blades, gashes deep as swords that wept blood in gouts, leaving victims pale and convulsing on bathroom floors. Levicorpus dangled foes upside down by ankles, a petty hex-turned weapon. These weren't polite spells from Gilderoy Lockhart's primers. They were raw, vicious inventions, born from Snape's bullied youth and later refined in shadows. When Harry copied them into his own book, the prince's secrets spread like fiend fire, uncontainable, devouring caution. Classmates glimpsed the edges, begged for tips, and soon the dungeon air hummed with half-understood curses. What began as one boy's marginalia became a classroom revolution, proving how fragile the barriers truly were. No enchanted chains or professorial notes could stop ink from leaping pages, handing perilous power to a 15-year-old who nearly eviscerated Draco Malfoy in a haze of rage. The Half-Blood Prince's legacy showed suppression's flaw. Knowledge leaks, seeping through cracks in old textbooks, whispered incantations, even second-hand robes. This permeability haunted Dumbledore, who paced his office late into nights, Fawkes trilling warnings from his perch. He knew the restricted section held more. Volumes on Fiendfire's roaring infernos that ate Horcruxes, but turned on their masters, or Protego Diabolica's loyalty fires that charred the unfaithful while warping the caster's heart black. Necromantic rebirths, like Voldemort's graveyard potion blending bone, flesh and enemy's blood, lurked in faded scripts, their ingredients stained with sacrificial echoes. Yet for all the locks and legends, the true danger wasn't the books themselves, but the hunger they ignited. Harry's brush with Sectum Sempra left scars not just on Draco's chest, but on his own conscience, a reminder that forbidden lore doesn't stay confined. It whispers through Hogwarts halls, from the astronomy tower where curses flew unchecked, to Gringotts vaults breached by Imperio's thrall. Even as Voldemort fell, those tomes remained, gathering dust, waiting for the next seeker. What judgments awaited those who delved too deep in the fragile peace that followed? That's the question we'll unravel in Chapter 27. The Aftermath. Justice in a post-Voldemort world, where the echoes of forbidden spells demand reckoning. If you're still with me as your eyelids grow heavy, drop a comment on how this chapter lulled you tonight. Sweet dreams until next time. Those dusty volumes from the restricted section, like secrets of the darkest art, vanished into secure vaults, not just to bury knowledge, but to starve the allure that drew so many into Voldemort's shadow. Yet suppression alone couldn't heal a fractured society. In the rubble-strewn halls of the Ministry of Magic, a reckoning began, one that would redefine guilt, forgiveness, and the very boundaries of forbidden magic. By mid-1998, mere weeks after the Battle of Hogwarts, the air in the atrium hummed with a tense urgency. Aurors, their robes still singed from the fight, dragged captured Death Eaters into holding cells beneath the Wizengamot. The Ministry's crackdown on Death Eaters and the trials involving Imperio defences unfolded like a storm, swift and unyielding. Over 200 suspects faced judgment in those first months, their wands snapped or confiscated, their alibis shredded under scrutiny. Lucius Malfoy sat pale and defiant in the dock, his silver hair dishevelled, claiming he'd acted under the imperious curse for years, a puppet jerked by Voldemort's will. Bellatrix Lestrange's sister, Narcissa, whispered similar pleas, her voice trembling as she described the curse's invisible chains forcing her hand. But the Wizengamot, packed with war-weary witches and wizards, demanded proof beyond words. Magical forensics became the silent executioner. Prior incantato charms, those eerie echoes of a wand's last spells, revealed green flashes of Avada Kedavra, or the wreathing signatures of Cruciatus long after the acts. Healers testified to the subtle scars on souls twisted by Imperio. Victims spoke of a fogged will, yet casters bore the caster's mark, a faint darkening in their magical core detectable only by advanced legilimency. Harry Potter himself took the stand for a handful, his voice steady as he recounted Draco Malfoy's hesitant Cruciatus in the bathroom, too willful to blame on control. One by one, the Imperio defences crumbled. Travers, who Harry had Imperiused at Gringotts, tried to mirror the plea, but his own repeated uses on Muggle-borns painted a different picture. Azkaban filled again, not with Dementors this time, but under human guard, its cells echoing with the finality of verdicts. This purge exposed the curse's cruel irony. Imperio promised obedience, yet left traces that betrayed the user. In the end, fewer than a dozen walked free, pardoned only if their wands showed no dark residue. The trials dragged into 1999. Public galleries overflowing with families of the tortured and slain, their faces etched with grief that no spell could mend. Each conviction felt like reclaiming a sliver of the world Voldemort had poisoned. As sentences were handed down, the wizarding legal code underwent its own transformation. How the definition of forbidden evolved after the Second Wizarding War marked a pivotal shift, broadening beyond the classic unforgivables to encompass spells whose peril lay in their fallout. Sectum Sempra, once a whispered invention of a teenage Snape, joined the rolls, not for its slash of invisible blades, but for the moral rot it induced, the caster's growing thirst for vengeance. Fiendfire, that ravenous blaze capable of devouring Horcruxes, yet turning on its master, earned a lifetime ban outside sanctioned duels, its cursed flames deemed too volatile for any hand. Even Protego Diabolica, the loyalty-testing inferno, was reclassified, its dark allegiance probe seen as a gateway to fanaticism. The Ministry codified these changes in the post-war magical edicts of 1999, expanding Forbidden to include rituals like Voldemort's rebirth brew. Bone flesh, blood woven into necromantic horror, or the soul-shattering rite of Horcrux creation. No longer just acts of malice, Forbidden now hinged on intent and consequence. A spell's power to erode free will, corrupt the soul, or unleash uncontrollable havoc. Unbreakable vows, once private pacts sealed by death, required Ministry oversight, their bond of witnesses logged to prevent coerced oaths. This evolution reflected a society scarred but wiser, prioritizing prevention over punishment. Yet justice demanded more than lists and laws. The rehabilitation of the wizarding world's legal system emerged from the ashes of corruption, with Kingsley Shacklebolt sworn in as Minister for Magic in a ceremony bathed in phoenix light. He dismantled the old Wizengamot's cronyism, installing aurors like Ron Weasley and Hermione Granger in reform committees. Dementors were banished from Azkaban, replaced by Patronus-trained wardens who patrolled with silver mist wards. New departments bloomed. The Office for Magical Integrity probed soul damage from curses, offering healing potions derived from phoenix tears to mend Imperio's lingering haze. Hogwarts contributed too, its curriculum infused with ethics modules dissecting why Harry's wartime Imperio on Bogrod didn't fracture his core. Necessity, not hatred, as the key differentiator. International cooperation followed, with the International Confederation of Wizards sharing detection spells refined in the War's Forge. Muggle-born liaisons ensured hybrid crimes, like Death Eater's raids, crossed no borders unpunished. Slowly, the scales balanced. Convictions dropped as education rose. Wands taught to recoil from dark impulses through embedded charms. Families like the Malfoys, stripped of wealth yet spared Azkaban, funded reparations, their galleons rebuilding shattered homes. Through it all, the wizarding world exhaled, forging a justice that honoured the dead without birthing new monsters. But shadows of temptation persisted, whispers of power that no law could fully silence. We'll uncover that enduring pull next in Chapter 28, The Eternal Temptation, where even the reformed heart of magic finds itself tested once more, even as the Ministry tightened its grip after Voldemort's fall, pulling Death Eaters before the Wizengamot and dissecting every imperious plea in those tense trials. The lines around what counted as forbidden began to blur just a little. The war had forced good witches and wizards to stare into the abyss, casting spells they'd once sworn off, and in the quiet aftermath, no one could pretend that the dark arts had vanished with a simple verdict. Think back to the restricted section's dusty tomes, those whispers of suppressed knowledge that only made the shadows more inviting. The Ministry evolved its definitions, sure, labelling fiendfire or sectum sempra as perils too wild for wands outside desperation. But the rituals lingered in forgotten grimoires, the curses echoed in old battle scars. San Bakar in the 1890s, slashing life from Isidora Morgaraku with Avada Kedavra long before Voldemort made it infamous. Proof that darkness predates any Dark Lord, woven into magic's ancient roots. You can almost feel the chill in those Middle Ages origins, when the unforgivables first slithered from some hooded inventor's lips. Green flashes birthing instant silence, red agony, twisting bodies into knots of endless screams, invisible threads puppeteering souls against their will. By 1717, the Ministry branded them unforgivable, life in Azkaban for a whisper of them on a human. Yet here we are, centuries later, with Harry Potter himself bending Imperio on Travas Bogrod in Gringotts' fiery depths, reapplied after Thief's downfall stripped it away like morning mist. That duality stares back at you from every spellbook page, magic as the ultimate forge, shaping Patronus lights to banish Dementors or blooming gardens from barren soil. Yet flipping the wand twists it into total annihilation. The same arcane energy that mends a broken bone with Episci surges through Crucia's curse, racking Neville's parents into gibbering shells under Bellatrix's glee in 1981. Voldemort's rebirth ritual in Little Hangleton, bone of the father ground to dust, flesh of the servant sliced fresh, blood of the enemy, Harry's own, stirring a wraith into flesh. That same necromantic pulse could coax life from death in healing arts, if only pointed toward light. Sectum Sempra's invisible blades carve gashes deep as grudges, blood pooling hot and slick as Harry learned on Draco in that bathroom brawl. Snape's teenage invention labelled for enemies only, yet imagine it repurposed, a surgeon's precision on the battlefield. Fiendfire roars unchecked, devouring Horcruxes and castles alike, but harnessed, a purifying blaze against Inferi hordes. Protego Diabolica's infernal ring scorches the unfaithful, reality warping in loyalty's cruel test, mirroring Fidelius charms that shield the loyal with equal ferocity. Horcruxes split souls on murder's scream, shards entombed in diaries or diadems. Voldemort's 7 fragments clawing for eternity, but that soul-rending force echoes in the Patronus, whole spirits repelling despair. Unbreakable vows seal fates with death's penalty. Snape, binding himself to Narcissa's desperate plea over Draco's doomed mission, yet the same oath magic underpins wizards' vows of marriage or alliance, unbreakable without the darkness. Priori Incantato pulls ghosts from wands, regurgitating echoes like Dumbledore's silver hand from Voldemort's U in their graveyard clash, a forensic mirror to the Trace's faltering grip on adult magic. Moody's classroom demo of Imperio in '94, Harry floating free under its haze, showed even defense against the dark arts flirts with it. Ron and Hermione in Hogwarts' final frenzy, curses flying amid crumbling stones, reluctant but real. This brings us to final thoughts on why the dark arts remain a permanent fixture of the magical world. They're not some aberration to be excised like a curse scar. They're the flip side of every Lumos glow, Every Wingardium Leviosa lift, suppress the books, patrol the borders, and still the temptation coils, because power's whisper never quiets in a heart craving more. Voldemort embodied it, but so did the heroes who survived him. Harry's Cruciatus cracking on Amicus Carrow's jaw before the battle, born of rage pure as any Death Eater's. The war normalized it, trials excused it, and peace breeds complacency, letting old rituals resurface in quiet corners. Magic's duality cuts deepest here. A tool for creation, birthing worlds from whispers, Patronuses shielding the innocent, flow networks linking souls across miles. Yet a weapon for total destruction when malice grips the caster. The green bolt doesn't care who speaks it. The mind thrall yields to any strong enough will. Fiendfire hungers regardless of intent. Soul splits scar eternally, and that leads to the closing analysis. Is the magic dangerous, or is it the wizard who wields it? Feel the weight of that question in Azkaban's damp cells, where wands lie dormant but memories burn. Avada Kedavra kills clean. No duel needed, but a stunning spell flung wildly shatters a child's skull. Same force, different heart. Crucio's pain mirrors a mother's labour twisted cruel. Imperio Legilimen's probe gone feral. The spells don't choose evil. They're conduits, raw as lightning, shaped by the hand that calls them. Harry's soul stayed whole, Dumbledore said, because love armoured it, not hate. Despite Imperio's grip, despite Sectum Sempra's blood, Voldemort fragmented chasing immortality, but the magic, neutral, patient, waiting for the next tempted soul. Post-war ministry evolved forbidden to context. Battlefield curses prosecutable less harshly than cold murder, acknowledging the wizard's intent as the true blade. In the end, the eternal temptation endures because magic mirrors us. Boundless potential, laced with peril, creation's spark igniting destruction's pyre. Banish the dark arts, you might as well dim the stars. They lurk in everyone's core, a reminder that true power lies not in the spell, but in resisting or embracing the call. Thank you for journeying through every forbidden incantation with me tonight. If these tales lulled you towards sleep, drop a comment on how many nights we've shared. Rest well, the magic waits for dawn. What did you think of this journey? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If this changed your perspective or taught you something new, consider subscribing for more mind-expanding content. And if you know someone who would find this as fascinating as you did, share it with them. These are the kind of conversations that matter.